actually see it's monetized. 'Cause sometimes it just turns it off. It just I don't know what's wrong with it. It was Rachel was saying that as well. It's happening on her side as well. They'll just turn itself off, turn off the old monetization. But yeah, it's it's always the case when it comes down to money, huh?
Yeah,
Everything's
the monetization is so small for live streams. I don't know why.
yeah.
Because I did a live stream myself yesterday, and the people watching were telling me when ads came up. So
Hmm.
they all of them watched at least two long ads,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is so if it was for an hour, and then it gets paid like 10% of
Mm,
what a video gets paid.
yeah, yeah. Where am I? Content, content, content. And then click on live. Yeah, it's monetized right now. Good to go. And I'll just, can I just click straight into it? Oh no, I still have to go around, as we say in Ireland, assways. I have this thing on the top of my thing with Wayne on it. Wayne paid for membership, I think. What was it? Yesterday. And now when I turn on, anytime I look on any of the lives, Wayne is on the top of it. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what the crack is. I don't even know if Wayne knows what the crack is. I don't even think Wayne is here today. And it says on the thing, it says, welcome Wayne to the channel. Like, Wayne's been here for years. I don't know what you're up about. How you doing, Christopher? How are you keeping today? Can you hear us fine, Christopher? Can you? Uh, so, Owen, how have you been keeping this week? Been
Oh,
busy?
crazy! Because we changed windows, etc. The guy was sanding the floor today, so it's like
Mm.
a 3D Tetris piling up tables on top of tables and
Yeah.
trying not to step on the floor where he's polished it, etc. So I'm
How's
ready.
Gary doing? How are you keeping? Our sound is probably completely diabolical, is it? Kevin, how you keeping, boy? Any news with you?
Hi,
Caveman's
Caveman.
in the
Hi,
place.
Tweebin. Hi, everybody.
Where's the short, handsome one? Why is he not on?
And
Miho,
look who
what's the
sent that
crack here?
message.
Why aren't you coming on? I gave you the link, didn't I? I don't know what Mihal is doing, lads. I actually have no clue what Mihal is doing. He's just going on for one. He's going to spend the today. Today, Mihal's decided he just wants to hang out in the old what was it called comment section. Is me 1 second? I'll fly over and see if Mihal is actually live on his own channel. He's going to hang around for today. Well, I know. Owen, your channel is up and running anyway.
Is it?
Yeah, it's live now anyway. That's the main thing. And I'll pop over to Mihal and see if he's live as well. He's not actually. He's not connected. He's losing out
Computer,
now.
computer playing silly boogers.
Uh, you can come on in an hour or so or whatever. Anyway, I won't be rushing away anytime soon. Like, what is the topic for today? Just randomly talking shite. Mostly covering clans and dynasties.
Who's
So,
not here?
well, yeah, yeah, the main man himself is not here today. Because, yeah, today we were mostly covering, talking about the old family and clans and all that kind of stuff. And we mostly have Miha. It's so most of the time, it's mostly just me, myself, and Owen with the old whips whipping Miha. Go on, Miha, keep going. Who's this family, Miha? Come on, that's not good enough, Miha. And then once finished and we're having a debrief, we just give out to him, like, that's not good enough, huh? We're just not making enough money for us, huh? Sure,
We
today's
can, in-
having
before he comes on, we can invent a few dynasties.
that's it. I love it. I love it when somebody's in the comment section and they have this wild spelling to some name. And I've been looking at it and I'm like, who the hell is this McDuck family like? And I'll try to pronounce it to Mihal. And Mihal looks at me and then Mihal looks at the comment. And you can tell on Mihal's face that's like a non-existent family, like someone's just trolling Mihal, and it's always great when you're 2 hours in and you're just coming up to the finish line, right, of these 2 hour live streams, and somebody just chucks that into the works, and I look at it and I'm like, that person has to be trolling. Like we've definitely had that a few times, like. I recently did my DNA test and found that I'm 70. What was it? 70 76. Six. It was the six there. My brain wasn't clicking over that. 76% Irish, with 20% Scottish and Welsh, and the rest of it Breton.
Can we
My
all
last name is Walsh. Oh, we're gonna William Wallace to start with. William Wallace. Wallace.
William
Wallace.
Wallace,
can we all
which,
hear
as
me?
far as I know, means Welsh.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Is that the
Ah,
same with the?
Can
Is
you
the
hear me?
William one?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we can
can.
hear you. We can't
We can
see
hear
you.
him. Yeah.
Because the name
Okay.
Walsh
Um,
in Ireland, which is a similar name, it translates into Brannock in
Oh,
Irish.
yeah.
yes, the
So I
same
think
with
William
Wallace.
Wallace's name meant William the Welshman, even though he was
Ah.
Scottish.
Yeah. That would make sense in that whole
No,
confusing area. Go on, Michael has something to say.
it comes from hang on while my camera's connecting. So the Strathclyde was a Brythonic speaking area in early history, early medieval period, right up until the Middle Ages. Basically, there are a lot of Brythonic groups there. Give that a second to connect. So you get a lot of families that didn't adopt Gaelic surnames, like the Campbells adopted a Gaelic surname.
Yeah, there he is.
But there he is. I'm holding the camera because I'm still not plugged it into the thing. But yeah, so a lot of them didn't take Brythonic surnames like the Campbells, but they were given eponyms, so or nicknames, and whenever they moved out of their traditional homelands. So you would have, the surname English in Ireland, you get that name, and it just means the English, basically. And Wallace is one of those names. It's obviously it's an individual. It's not obviously where you would maybe have all O'Dohertys or 90% of Campbells being related. Obviously, when you get to names like Wallace or Smith, it's almost like Smith. It's going to have multiple origin points because you're going to have multiple individuals who are leaving the Brythonic speaking areas of Strathclyde into the Gaelic speaking areas, and then adopting this patronym, this surname of Wallace. So yeah, there's multiple origins of it. But it's basically, you'd have like the same, like the Birmingham, from Birmingham or whatever. That's actually not true, but just to give you an example. So yeah, that's how Wallace sort of comes about. So yeah, from a Brythonic speaking individual, rather than a Gaelic one. So yeah, and then he obviously joins Robert the Bruce and get, like most Brythonic people, they end up in the Gaelic League of some, or Gaelic League or whatever, or fighting for Gaelic causes. But yeah, and someone's put there, Jerry's put, it means Welsh or foreigner. Actually, it doesn't mean foreigner, in the same sense that we maybe associate with. So one of the mistranslations of the old Welsh, the as in the Welsh, Wales, Cymraeg, is that it meant foreigner, or it meant like lower people, and it was a name given. The term Welsh was given to them by the Anglo-Normans to lessen their status, to make them seem like lesser people. But that translation is now being reworked over, so it less likely means foreigner. And although it is applied to a foreigner because he's a Brythonic person going into a Gaelic or Gaelic speaking place. So, but yeah, it's that's the Wallaces, and obviously their history after that is closely tied with William Wallace, who was really just a minor noble landholding individual. He rose to some serious prominence because of great propaganda.
Yeah,
and then followed by a great movie by Mel Gibson.
A very historical movie, actually, completely historical. You see, most people today would tell you that in the Battle of Stirling Bridge, there was a bridge, and that Mel Gibson had foolishly forgot that there was a bridge there. No. If you actually look at the proper records, it was never a bridge. I don't know what you're talking about, Oh, I'm just completely confused there.
I was actually.
I've just been talking about David. Look at those eyes deep in his.
I was actually in Scotland.
Go on.
Kind of a few months after they'd made it.
Yeah.
And where there was still, it was still kind of accepted, and I think it was around the time of the referendum, which gave Scotland a parliament. And it was funny, like you wander around different like bookshops and history places, and you're just falling over videos about Wallace, and sort of there was a feeling that it was a very good film then. And that would have been almost 30 years ago. Fast forward now, you say it to a Scots person and they kind of run away and jump. I wonder how Outlander is going to be perceived in 10 years, because I know that created a big tourist boom. I managed to watch 1 episode and a half, and then it was something so there's one character, a woman, was so stereotypically bad Scottish, I just turned it off and never watched anything else.
Yeah, it's very much a kind of lovey-dovey 50 Shades, I think that's the only way it's going to be looked at as 50 Shades. I managed to watch, it's actually the wife. My wife couldn't handle watching the show, to be honest with you. She found that she was too dopey. She kept getting herself involved with the most dopiest situations ever. She goes in, I think in the first season, she manages to offend the clan that's protecting her in every single way possible, in the most dopiest way possible. And she keeps forgetting that she's not living. I know the show is set in, what was it called? The 18th century, but I think it's the Campbells. She's in with the Campbell clan, and she's living in their tower house. But they're behaving like...
Isn't it Mackenzie or something?
Mackenzie, sorry, it's Mackenzie's. You're right.
They're Jacobites. They're Jacobites. They're not.
Yeah. You actually got it right there. Is the Kenzie? Sorry, my brain got confused. But she's living with them, and she keeps forgetting that she's not living in, what was it, the 20th century? That she's in fact living in with the 17th century Scots up in the Highlands, and that they're still a part of the, the Highland society and stuff. It just she keeps getting herself in, and there's so many times that she should have been chopped up and she isn't. And so the wife had enough of it.
I was just reading about it, and I saw there was one part where someone was burnt for being a witch.
Yes,
by Highlanders. I was kind of saying, hold on a second. Who burnt the witches in Scotland? It was the Presbyterians.
Yeah, it was.
James wrote a book about it. It wasn't these superstitious people up in the Highlands. They didn't really care.
Yeah.
And I just gave up. I just gave up.
Yeah. I've watched it for a while. I try to watch it so I can take the tourist stuff out. Because it's always handy for doing.
I'm showing my age. I have on video a film called Chasing the Deer. It's set in 1745. If anyone likes rock music, Fish, who used to be the lead singer in Marillion, stars in it. He has an important role in it.
Right, we just found that guy's getting blocked from the kick-off. The name alone, I was like, looking at the name, and I was like, how has YouTube not completely removed you? And then the comments, I'm just like, well, there's no messing around with you.
So it's Chasing the Deer. It was a Scottish film made before Braveheart. I found it quite interesting and reasonably historic. I have it on video, so I must dig out the video. I think I have a video that I can watch it in, where it'll probably jam. For those who remember the perils of videos.
God, someone's booming there with the mad comments. Someone's definitely suddenly popped into the algorithm. Anyway, we'll give us a second there. I have a funny feeling that's you, Owen, that suddenly popped. 1 second, I have an old gawk. It could be me. No, it's not. I'm not getting the wild comments. It's very strange. Yeah, because those comments are just absolutely wild. But
yeah, just in relation to Davy Jones, there's a zillion comments, but Davy Jones about the burning of witches. I think in Ireland, 1 or 2 people got executed for being a witch.
Mm.
There was Dame Alice.
Yeah.
in Kilkenny in the early medieval period, and after that it didn't
She's
really happen.
1320, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In England and Scotland, the Calvinists were busy burning, especially during the Civil War times. There is the Witch Finder General, and there are sort of pinpoints where there's some people just go mad about it.
Yeah.
I think in France it's both Catholic and Protestant. In Germany, I have a feeling it was more Protestant, but I wouldn't swear.
Yeah. But
and there's a lot of bad history about it. Even that famous book, with the Latin title that from the medieval period, but it was written by a monk who had got into trouble, and he writes this book, and now loads of people believe it's the official witch hunting manual of the Catholic Church. It wasn't. It was he got in trouble, and I think he wrote it in his spare time, and it kind of becomes a bestseller.
Jesus Christ, that's just even worse again. Like, because some of those witch trial books for hunting witches and stuff are absolutely wild.
Yeah, but a lot were kind of porn. They were written to,
yes,
sort of. They're not based on actually what's done. They're to get people excited, etc. They sold.
Yeah, but like it's shocking the kind of, because myself and Rachel are talking about that the other day as well. Is literature back in the medieval period, people expect it to be, how the Victorians say it, nice, clean and clean cut, and then people are very shocked at the language that women are reading. During the medieval period, getting all excited and stuff. If you understand what I'm saying there, like,
yeah.
Yeah, language in the medieval period can be absolutely wild at times, like, especially like, because go on.
I was going to say, before we wander off into talking about something that can get us demonetized, there's several people have thrown
I'm trying to be careful.
Because I see Coffee 23 has thrown in a whole pile of names.
Oh, but hang on. I don't know. I'm not seeing them, but I know someone was asking about Buchanan. Another person was asking about McCormick. Buchanan's an easier one, so I'll just fire that in there. Buchanan's a Scottish. It's not a patronymic name. It doesn't come from an ancestor. It's a territorial name. It's like what's the actual term for it? It's like a locational name, so it's named after a location in Scotland. And so, but there are Irish branches as well. So in Ulster, there are, obviously you'd have a lot of Buchanans coming across from to Ulster during the plantations, etc. But there is a branch who are like a sept of the McCauslands in Ulster, and there is somewhere in Meath. I don't know if it's Westmeath or I'll just say Meath, that covers the whole area. But there's a townland called Ballia Buchanan, so that indicates there's a presence in the area. But the name's not really prominent in the area. So whether the name's died out or they've moved on, I can't really specify. But it's mostly, related to Scotland. There is as well sometimes the surname Bohan. That's Bohan. That does sometimes get rendered to Buchanan too, in later translations of it, like 16th century stuff. They mispronounced the Buidicon, which became Bohan, but it also became Buchanan. So that's that one. McCormick is another one. I have done a video short on this one. McCormick and McCormuck. There's a lot of myths, a bit like if you've got the surname MacDonald and McDonald, you're of Irish descent or whatever, depending on your interpretation of Mac and Muck. But that's obviously a myth. So McDonald, I don't know which way I'm meant to be sat to get this right. Whenever you zoom in, you just sort of put me in a. I'm
Yeah,
battle
it's
back
always
and
a fun
front.
That's
gamble.
good
Like,
now.
but
Yeah. Yeah, so McCormick, there's obviously, it doesn't matter if it's McCormick or McCormick. That doesn't denote where your ancestral origins are. They're
mm,
both interchangeable and were used interchangeably right through the 16th to the 19th century. So there are obviously Scottish McCormick. I'll just refer to the Scottish ones as MacCormicks and the Irish ones as McCormicks. Thus, exemplifying that myth, but it's just easier for distinction between the other branches. So the McCormicks in Ulster come from Scotland during the plantations primarily. Then you have the McCormicks of County Down, who are actually O'Cormacans. So McCormick is a patronym of both Cormac, the surname Cormac, and Cormacan. So wherever you find the surname, an individual, with the name Cormacan, that name was eventually rendered into McCormick. So there's O'Cormacans in County Down. There's McCormacans in Mayo. There's Kill McCormick's, which became just McCormick's in Fermanagh. There's another group who are, I believe, related to the Evina, who are the O'Kellys. So they're around, no, not the O'Kellys, the Farrells. So they're around Longford. And it can also be found later, a much later name in the 16th century. A family in Muskerry became were the McCormicks, but their actual patronymic lineage is not known because they do not appear in the area until the 1600s. So, so those are the Irish branches. But like I say, DNA would probably be the only way you could sort of differentiate between what paternal line you possibly descend from. But yeah, it's an Irish and Scottish name, both of them.
We'll let you charge there for a second because you were just going off 100 miles an hour, like going there on what you're saying.
There's two questions I wanted to jump in on. One is about the Covenanters, but there's another one there from Doom Shop about the Gallo glass.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's quite a bit down. Can I ask about the Gallo glass? I want to know how much of an impact they made and how they were employed. And did they it's just jumped on me. And did they continue existing after the Vikings left Ireland?
Yeah, they did.
This is, you can probably answer this question better than me. But like, they only started much after you no longer had Norse. You no longer had, you did in Scandinavia, etc., but there wasn't such a thing as Norse in Ireland when they began emerging. But you can probably answer that better.
The original, now I have to highlight, I'm not actually linguistic, but the original Gallo glass would pop in with the Gall Gael, which the direct translation is foreign Irish. Very, very debatable. And the reason why the Gall Gael, even from the get-go, are very debatable is the fact that you need to understand that Ireland was a king group, which was that you had to it all along the lands, which were ring forts, and the ring forts were all connected together with marriage alliances, fosterage, and what was it called? Marriage alliance, fosterage, and what was it called? Marriage alliance, fosterage. God, I keep forgetting this one. Hostage. I forgot it the other day as well. Sorry about that. So anyway, all the king groups are connected together, and then at the top you have overkings. So it's very much debated, even from the get-go, is the word foreign meaning Norse, or does it just mean people who live on the edges of society, who are not a part of the system of marriage alliances, fosterage, and hostages? Obviously, that's a debate all in itself, but regardless, all the way in 920, you have the sudden appearance of the word Gall Gael suddenly appearing in, not 920, 820, around 820, 840-ish, you have the sudden appearance of the word Gall Gael suddenly appear which means the direct translation of it means foreign Irish. And it's believed at that point there's a whole kind of theory, conspiracy theory, that there's a sudden change in warfare going from cattle raiding warfare into conventional style warfare, and that these people were broken away from the societies, because if you have young fellas who are part of the societies, it would cause blood feuds. But if these people are not a part of the society, when these guys are killed, there's no one to kind of avenge them within the society itself, which makes sense because I've never come across maybe Micheál knows of blood feuds within the McSweeney's and stuff, but I don't know of any blood feuds in any Gall Gael or Gallowglass groups.
Not a blood feud, but but if there was ever to be a family that would maybe have the right to do that, it would be the McCabe's, purely because they are solely recruited within the Kingdom of Breffna by both the O'Reillys and the O'Rourkes. So they are in continuous employ, fighting themselves effectively. The employ of the Breffna kingdoms of the O'Rourke and the O'Reillys. So I don't know if it's a feud or if it's just business. And I can't. I need to look into this, but I don't think there's anything really on them. I mean, the only time the McCabe's really show up is one of their constables dies, and his funeral is attended apparently by Gallowglass from many different clans, many different Gallowglass units, because he was held in such high regard. But yeah, I don't know if that's transaction where they just go to the younger one, like two sons, and right, you're with the O'Rourkes this week and you're with the O'Reillys, and you know, try not to kill each other if you meet each other. You know, but that's the closest I would come to. You know, they were very good. They were very effective at taking out local family groups. But I don't think there's any specific. The way their system operated with constables, the way that they eventually are forced to recruit from the Irish populace later on, just to the sheer volume of need, and obviously they're not able to produce sons as quick as what they're in use, and the fact that these hired in Gallowglass would never challenge for a constable position. Not only that, but they're very good at, if you look at the McSweeney's, they're originally from Fanad in Donegal, but eventually you've got land grants in Connacht, Munster and Leinster in large quantities. So it's very easy to just give your son a group and just set up base down there. It's like I say, it seems to be more business but running as a clan, or what we'd assume.
But I think in relation to the McSweeney Doe up in the north of Donegal, I think by the time they fell along with everybody else after 1603, they were behaving very like any other lord up there, and like the 9 Years' War, they kind of went from one side to another. And there's a famous, I think their leader was captured by Docra and was going to be sent. He was lucky; he was going to be executed, but they decided to send him to Dublin to be executed. I don't know why. So he was on a boat, and apparently he took all his clothes off and managed to squeeze through a window and swam away.
Jesus, I think the problem is with after the Desmond's rebellion. In my understanding, is that the likes of the Mac can't behave like they originally behaved, because of the way the English are forcing them to join sides and kind of defend their way of life. I think I was reading that in of Kearns and Gallowglass. Maybe Micheál can correct me on that one. That the McSweeney's were kind of forced to become a part of society to defend their way of life, like against the English. No,
I don't remember, but that's correct and incorrect. The McSweeney's very quickly operate as every other noble, and at the minute they land on the beaches of Donegal, they operate the same way as any other, for want of another term, we'll just keep using it, clan in Donegal. They
mm,
incorporate
mm,
themselves and initiate themselves into the Gaelic court of the O'Donnells, claiming ancestry to the same lineage as the O'Donnells through a prince called Anrahan. Um, and
mhm,
they claim lineage. The O'Donnells accept it, so whether it's actually true or whether they saw this fleet of armed men on their shores as an advantage over their rivals. The O'Donnells were the
mm,
first to really have them sort of operate as a Gallowglass unit. Obviously, they are first appear as a dowry, but they're not. They're as they're used as bodyguards and everything else within the story. But the McSweeney's are the first one to sort of establish a base and move on to do what Gallagher's are associated with. So they're already incorporated into Gaelic society. They're already
mm,
operating as a clan. The only difference, I would say, I wouldn't even say there's a difference between how they operate. Clans can break off and have brothers fight brother, or
mm,
go off and join another war band or whatever. It's not really so unique. It's just that for a Gallowglass, it's their way of life. You know,
mm,
that's going
mm,
to happen. That it's possible you're going to fight your cousins who are now down based in Connacht because they've been
mm,
employed by the O'Connors. You know,
mm.
so
Yeah.
but like every other family, Gaelic or Gallowglass, they do get involved in politics. They do want to expand
Mm,
their influence. The McSweeney's, very famously, the lands they held all along Fanad and along that northeast coast of Donegal, they kicked out the families like the Breslins, who were then
mm,
forced to
mhm,
relocate in Fermanagh. So they're not just sitting there as businessmen. They're a mafia organization, effectively.
mm,
Here, Morgan makes a very interesting point in his book Tyrone's Rebellion, which is
mm,
about the background to the first few years of the 9 Years' War, and it's very good on Hugh O'Neill.
mm,
Um, he basically says that the downfall, the final collapse of the lordship of the Isles, resulted that because of this, the O'Neills discovered that they got flooded in Gallowglass. Loads of these soldiers coming from Scotland. I think the O'Donnells to a lesser extent, but these big lordships in Ulster suddenly got much more powerful, and they were able to
Mm.
flex their muscles against their own cousins, against minor lordships, and then against the English. Um, Except when it comes to the 9 Years' War, um, O'Neill had a big problem in that he was basically mortal enemies, just big blood feuds. This was a really bad one with the McShanes, the sons of Shane O'Neill, and many of these were their mother was Scottish. I can't remember from which clan. So they kind of the hostility between them and him cut off his access to Scottish mercenaries, and more or less as a result of that, he began to arm his own peasantry, because he knew he would need to be able to get men. But on the other hand, Turlough Linnock was married to Lady Agnes Campbell. Her daughter, Ineen Dove, or Fanula, I think she's MacDonald, was the mother of Reg Hugh, or Hugh Roe O'Donnell, Reg Hugh O'Donnell, which meant, and she basically ensured that when he escapes from jail, he becomes O'Donnell, the O'Donnell Lord of Tyrconnell. So you have, like, at the end of the 16th century, the role of Gallowglasses changes, but there is still a big role for feuds, etc. And then if you look at the MacDonalds who are coming into Ireland, sort of Dunluce Castle, etc., they are crazy for feuds. They're fighting with each other. So there's the sons of Sorley and various other ones,
much.
and half of them are all called Randall. So it makes it really confusing when you're trying to figure out who's who.
Nice. And just getting back to the original question. So anyway, you were talking about the Viking Age. So yeah, you do have the original word, which is Gall Gael, that appears in Old Irish. And then from there, as you were saying, did they continue after the Viking Age. That's actually where you get the transformation of the Gallowglass that we do know today. So originally, you do have Gall Gael, the word Gall Gael, appearing both in Dublin, Waterford, Cork, etc. And it's just kind of an umbrella term for foreign Irish people. But the one you're specifically looking for is Gall Gael that would have functioned in the likes of the Enale Confederation, or the likes of the Clan Owen, Clan Coleman, etc., etc., etc. They did hire and employ, as people say, Vikings, which would have been referred to as Gall Gael, foreign Irish. And then after those wars to do with Brian Boru, so on and so forth, most of them immigrate up to the Isles and stuff. You have, I think it's up to the period of, what's his name? Diarmid MacMail na Mór ends up occupying Dublin. And a lot of those groups end up immigrating just between the Isles of Scotland and Ireland. But then after the Scottish-Norwegian War, you have the likes of the McSweeneys, which Mihal would point out there are mostly a Gaelic family. They're not really Scandinavian, are they? The McSweeneys.
Well, that's the problem. Obviously, we know that the Gallowglass are. Where is this meant to be here? I'm going to turn my chair, so I'm just already sat in this position. Yes, so most of the Gallowglass are of paternal Norse, Scottish, or Irish descent, and which formed what you just said there, the Gall Gael. So there's not really, and then it just really depended on what was their political motivation. So we'll just use the MacDonalds as an example. All through the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century, they are claiming Irish descent. They're claiming that Summarley, their paternal ancestor, their progenitor, and so the subsets like the McDowells and the McRorys are all claiming paternal Irish descent and claim that Summarley is Irish. We now know through genetic testing that Summarley is his mother was probably Irish, but his father was Norse. So he comes from a paternal Norse lineage. But they were so invested in it for 400, 500 years. They were really hyping up their Gaelic identity, their Irish ancestry, as it were. And so you could claim that the McSweeneys do the same thing by claiming descent from Amrahan, who's part of the Enale, a prince who leaves Ireland because he doesn't want to become king of the Enale or the Ken O'Connell, and goes to Scotland, and they claim descent from him, along with a load of other families who are closely connected with the McSweeneys. So theoretically, according to their own lineages, they are an Irish Gaelic family, but more than likely, they're just as likely to be of Norse descent as anyone else. But they are Gaelic. Now, I'm not going to say the Gaelic because this is before the 14th century. That's when Gaelic sort of formed. So they're Gaelic. They are a Gaelic-speaking people. They are a family. They are not anything else. They're part of the Gaelic-speaking world.
Absolutely fascinating stuff for sure. But yeah, you have the McSweeneys, all right, who are, in between the kind of Scottish, Norwegian world, especially in the fact that the McSweeneys, there's a war that kicks off, and this war kicks off just before the Scottish War of Independence, around 1250, 1260-ish, which is the Scottish-Norwegian War, where Scotland and Norway go to war with each other. And the McSweeneys were actually supporting the Norwegians. So after the war, you have a lot of, the men around the Edinburgh area were pretty much like trying to give them the boot and try to force them out of Scotland. So the McSweeneys ended up immigrating over to Ireland. And it's not just the McSweeneys as well. There's other kind of Norwegian, Scottish families Gaelic families that also immigrate over to Ireland as well, because isn't there a marriage alliance as well with the O'Connors around the 1260 as well? That's very important for Brian O'Neill's revolt.
The O'Connors, marry into, is it the McRorys? Yeah, the McRorys.
No.
So, and technically, you could say the McRorys they're recorded in 1247 under the. They also assist the first O'Donnell, sort of king of Tyrconnell, or his son, in the 1240s, with gaining his throne. He grows up. So this O'Donnell grows up in Scotland, and then the McRorys, when his father dies in battle, he comes to reclaim his kingdom or his rights, and the McRorys sort of bring him along, and then also they participate in a battle in 1247. The Battle of Ballyshannon. These are proto-Gallaglass. These aren't part of the actual what we would encompass within the Gallaglass timeline. So I'm referring to them as proto-Gallaglass, but it's only by about 20 years, 10, 20 years. So it's not a lot. But then they are also they're used as a dowry to the O'Connors. They're part of a dowry. I think it's like maybe 180 or something like that. It's not a massive number, but it is in terms of men being given as a dowry. But like you said, there's plenty of them. There's McSheehy's, there's the McDonald's, there's the McCabe's, there's the McSweeney's, but there's also families that would participate, especially early on, in seasonal campaigning in Ireland. Which later they would still opt whenever they were Redshanks, like the Campbells, like all the Argyll. If you've got a family in the Isles or Argyll, McLean's, all that sort of thing, chances are, they've been across for a bit of seasonal fighting.
Yeah. Well, how far back would you push? Sorry, I apologize to the comment section there, slightly ignoring you. I just want to ask this question there. How far back would you push the Redshanks, Micheál? Owen now probably ready to jump in there, but how far back would you personally push the Redshanks? Because I pushed the Redshanks up to the, what was it called, the 15th century, to be honest with you, kind of the border of that one. You guys have opinions there, do you?
Well, I think sometimes you can get hung up on names.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, like Gallaglass. I see loads of stuff about Gallaglass on the internet. Sort of, you know the type. Oh, super warriors, samurai.
Yes.
Gallaglass, samurai versus Gallaglass. I'm not saying that every Gallaglass had a battle and he led I don't know how many men and he had to do this, he had to do that. No. And like many of them would have axes, many would have swords, many, they would pick up whatever weapons they had and their good weapons got broken. I have a feeling that the Redshanks are more modern, like late 15th century.
Yeah,
sort of more 16th century. And in a way it's because the terminology was changing. And I have a feeling that it could basically be that the Gallaglass by then had become the domain of certain families, the ones that Micheál has been talking about very well. And then Redshanks were from different groups. They might have been from slightly different areas. They were looking for employment. The downfall of the Lord of the Isles and various other political, like in the late 16th century, James began to flex his muscle in the Highlands. James, the King of Scotland. So, and then, as I mentioned, the two women before, Ineen Dove and her mother, Agnes Campbell, they were, through their family links in Scotland, they were bringing over loads of mercenaries, loads of Scottish mercenaries. And then it didn't really matter whether you called them Redshanks, whether you called them Gallaglass, whether you called them soldiers. They were soldiers. Then they helped the lords who were bringing them over.
Yeah, I just want to I want to apologize everyone because I kind of want to expand with this a little bit more with Owen. Is if for me, there's definitely a change. You hit the nail on the head with the Redshanks, that there is a change happening in the 15th century, and especially hits in the late 15th century. And it goes back to James the Usurper Fitzgerald, when he brings in coin and livery into those areas between the Fitzgerald, what was it? Yeah, the Desmond Fitzgeralds, the O'Briens, and that whole territory around there. There seems to be a massive change in the operation of warfare, going from the High Middle Ages, when it used to be just warband kind of, going into the late medieval warfare, where it seems to get just as, I wouldn't say as organized as the likes of the Lance Connect, but it's not. It's somewhere within that level of organization, and I think that's why, as you said there, it seems to get more associated then with the families, with the, the clans and stuff, and that's why the Redshanks become the Redshanks in the way that they become seasonal into Ireland.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree with you. Someone there says Gallaglass were mercenaries. Everybody was mercenaries, sort of under the pure system of feudalism, if it ever existed. Baron such and such would bring along men. He'd have to pay for them. Those men were like, all soldiers were mercenaries because they got paid. They didn't. It's only really almost from Napoleon that you have this idea: if you're German, you can only fight in the German army. If you're like in the American War of Independence, the British were short of soldiers, so they went off to Hanover, wasn't it? Hanover, and they kind of went to the Hanover Soldier Shopping Center and bought loads of soldiers to fight the colonists in the Americas. So everybody kind of was a mercenary. And Jim O'Neill's also asking, what's the word Shanks mean? So that must be a word that was used in Ireland and England, not in the States. Shank is your leg. There's a phrase, Shanks Mare. What means of transport did you use to get here? Shanks Mare. It means I walked. So Red Shanks is their legs. Long Shanks, I presume, Edward the First or Second, I presume he must have been very tall and had really long legs.
Michal, need to go. Did I leave a message though?
Michal, I think your sound is gone because you look like you're speaking, but there's no voice coming out.
Is that to you, Michal? Is it?
Oh, sorry.
You're back. Your sound is back.
No.
Thank you so much.
No, I was.
Go on.
So I was going to put my term on the Redshanks as well. So the problem is, like you said, Owen, it's about terminology, because Redshanks is a nickname given to Gaelic soldiers by Lowland Scots. So it's the term bare legs or red leg, or and the first terminology of it, actually, it's an insulting, it's a derogatory term for Gaelic Highlanders, effectively, or raiders, or mercenaries, and the first term of usage of it is in the 14th century. So effectively they're speaking, but it's not used as a wider term until sort of 15th, 16th century, when the English stop trying to or English writers stop trying to differentiate between Gallowglass and Redshanks, even though they're effectively part of the same group. But by this time, the Gallowglass are primarily only operating in Ireland. That's their hub, whereas the Redshanks are primarily operating in Scotland. So you get this clear divide, almost like the same way you would with Gaelic and Gaelic. Similar origins, but slowly they start to form their own. They come from the same point, but they start to form their own bubbles. And I suppose the only sort of key differences, and even then, like Owen has done there, when you break it down another level, there aren't any differences. There are just many differences and similarities, as they would have with another Gallowglass down the road, where you would associate Redshanks with light armor, Gallowglass with heavy armor, Gallowglass a professional army, professionally paid. That's their job, whereas Redshanks are seasonal. So that's kind of like the only real starting markers. But again, like Owen has already said, a Gallowglass can fight light. He might not have his ring mail there, so he may have turned up the battle with a tunic and a broad axe or a stick. A group may have been seasonal, for whatever reason. So it's not a hard line, but the differentiation is it's a derogatory term used by Lowland Scots against Gaelic soldiers, and first bit of 14th century, and then sort of by the 15th, 16th century, they sort of become, you can sort of see the differences of them just because of how long they've been separated, by where they live. So again, terminology is, as Owen said, is a bit, it can trip people up.
And if I can just jump on there, when you're mentioning the use of redshanks as a pejorative, the English, they use the word kern, and especially wood kern, as a pejorative. Look at the 16th century. Like, for example, when the Earl of Desmond was on the run, when he was being hunted down, they said, oh, he's a mere wood kern in the forest, as if wood kern was the lowest of the low. And they also, at the same time, and I find this really interesting considering this folk hero is now a big guy, but Robin Hood. Sometimes they would call someone a wood kern, sometimes they say he's a Robin Hood, by which they both meant as well bandit, outlaw. Sort of, there was a folk tale of Robin Hood, but the rich English, the ones at the top, used that as a pejorative as well.
Interesting. I do think we're onto something here, that people complicate the system too much, and they should focus on. I definitely would highlight this, is that they should first off understand how, going back to the early medieval period, first understand how war bands function in the early medieval period, then jump over to the High Middle Ages, work out how you have these massive changes in the High Middle Ages. When it comes down to warfare, and then finally jump over to the late medieval period during the what was it called, the 14th century up to around the 15th century, and study the changes that happen, especially with the coin and livery there. Because warfare constantly changes, but at the same time, I think people are complicating things way too much with these terms, like, as you said there, wood kern, redshanks. Perhaps maybe take a step back and actually, work out how the actual system itself works, not these slang words. Especially these slang words now are a completely different world on Facebook. Like you said there, like the Gallowglass were the samurai, and it's like, what the hell? Like when you get into the linguistic side, it only means foreign. Doesn't it mean foreign Irish or foreign warrior? Doesn't it? Like it doesn't mean samurai. Like
warfare was changing, and like guns were coming in, and in most of the time in Ireland, what the English had an advantage throughout the period of their cavalry, their horse, their heavy horse. The Irish couldn't stand up to that. The Irish horse, the Irish cavalry never modernized. You can ask why. But the advantage that the Gaelic Irish had until the downfall of Gaelic Ireland was they were much quicker. So a Gallowglass, a traditional Gallowglass wearing a heavy mail shirt would have been at a disadvantage. If there's English coming at you, like the lightly armored ones, they have a gun, they can cause damage, and they can skip across a bog very quickly, or they can run into a forest very quickly. And like they can run away from, if the English is moving in a column, they can move away from one part, circle around very quickly, and attack the column in the back, as happened many times. So the heavy armor, if you're facing heavy armor against heavy armor, maybe like Battle of Knockdoe, I think, is the classic version of that. But by this later on in the 16th century, that rarely happens. So mobility, being able to go fast, becomes much more important.
Mihal, is there any time you want to push in there and grab any of those comments there and start? Because there's not too many surnames now. I think people are talking about various, what's it called, the Gaelic and the Norse and stuff. We had an O'Brien there early on as well.
Go on. I will. I'm just smiling. Hello, Fat Controllers. Good to see you. Me and him
he's
and
a friend of yours, is he?
No, that's all. I'm not going to know. Like he's a long time commenter who we've had a long time butted heads in our disagreements of. He believes the Cruithne are originally Picts, who conquered parts of Ulster. He's very much in the Ian Adamson camp of thinking of Britons and Ulster, early Britons and Ulster. So, but it's great. I do enjoy the many conversations we've had, and I will just say to
you two Ulstermen, what's the crack?
I don't know.
Is this an Ulster argument? I'll leave you Ulstermen go and argue up there.
No, anyway, I will say there was a couple of names.
Go on.
There was who knows, we may actually.
I wouldn't say a friend. You Ulsterman, Jesus.
No, we're acquaintances. We've been long time speaking. I don't want to. I don't know anything about him to call him a friend, but I certainly, it's good to see him. Even though we've had many heated discussion, but it's not none of it's real will. So anyway. I saw McFadden in there earlier. McFadden's a Scottish name. It's also an Irish name as well. So the McFaddens of Donegal are a separate branch, but obviously a lot of McFaddens came from Scotland to Donegal in the plantations. So you will get an overlap there. There's a Mayo branch as well, but they it's unknown if they're related to the Donegal branch. There's a lot of Donegal families migrated into Mayo and vice versa, like the Gallaghers. So you do find the name, but there's no record or connection, so that one's unknown. But it is possible they're a separate family. We had the Campbells and the O'Briens. Campbells is a Scottish and Irish surname. The Scottish one is the most famous. Most people will be descended from the Scottish lines. Obviously, they're descended, I believe, maternally from the O'Dunia, a group who are a Brythonic group in Argyll, and they become prominent under during Robert the Bruce's era. Marry well and become the most successful Scottish family in Scottish history in terms of landholding, feudalism, and maintaining power for a continuous period, only having one blip, which was siding against Oliver Cromwell. But the Irish Campbells come from the McCowells in Tyrone. They anglicised their name to Campbell in the 16th century. So a lot of Campbells in Armagh and Tyrone are South Tyrone, so from will most likely be of Irish descent. And then there's another branch in off the banks of the Shannon near Clare. I can't remember which side of the bank. So I don't know if it's Clare or the other side. Who else did we say quickly? O'Brien's. Most O'Briens will claim descent from the famous Dalcash family of Clare, but Brian is also an English surname, and it is also there's a record of a Norman knight called de Brian, so all of which could produce multiple lines, and we know that in the 19th century a lot of families erroneously put O's and mucks in front of their names to re-Gaelicize their name after this wave of nationalism in the 19th century. So many O'Briens who believe they're O'Briens may actually descend from one of those English or Norman lines. So but most would be descended from or claim descent from the O'Briens of Clare.
Someone, Kira, who's on a lot of the time, was asking about Walshes and Lallies and Mayo. It's way down.
Walsh. Walsh. There's only one origin for Walsh in the sense, but not one family. Walsh is the Welsh settlers coming into Ireland. Now there are multiple waves of migrations into Ireland with Welsh settlers. The Normans brought across Welsh settlers. But a lot of these colonies, early colonies of Welsh settlers, did actually fail. So these Norman colonies started to fail. So a lot of them did return. And it's the same you'll often find even later on where people are being given tracts of land, that they do end up returning back to us, England and Wales. I wouldn't say in like huge numbers, but enough of them that it would be impossible for you as a Walsh to know which migration your family came across in, because there's this continuum wave of Welsh settlers being brought across to settle Ireland. But there has been no study of the surname that has found that it at any point has an native Irish family adopted the surname Walsh as a group, obviously you can have non-paternal events and stuff like that, people believing their father is aka Tom Walsh and actually it's the nut one. But we're not going down those wee lines. What we're saying is that there's no point as a family taking on the surname Walsh or being given the surname Walsh because it's a mistranslation of their name, or all these other sort of things. So it is purely someone of Welsh descent, of a Welsh settler who's come to Ireland, but anywhere between the 13th and the 16th, 17th century. So that good luck pinpointing which one. And obviously most of them may have had surnames of their own beforehand. And then you'll have families from Scotland as well who already had names similar to Walsh, so that have been anglicised to Walsh later on. So yeah.
And Lally in the same one.
No, the name Lally is I do know this because you've got the Lallies. It's also an anglicisation of an Irish name. I'll come back to me on that one. It's going to annoy me, but come back to me on it.
I know there was a famous Lally regiment in like of the Wild Geese, an Irish regiment serving with the French army, and I think they played a big role in the Battle of Fontenoy, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of. That famous battle in 1745, where the Irish Brigade played a big role in defeating the English. To me, that's the main thing I know about Lally.
No, I know, like it's Lally and the Mullallies. You've got the Lallies and the Mullallies who became the Lallies, but I can't remember for the life of me where those families are situated. And if Connacht, I don't know whether it's because I don't know of the Connacht line that it's throwing me off. But yeah, originally, like I say, you could be one of two lines, especially anyway. You can be the Lallies or the Mullallies. The Mullallies are of Irish descent. They're a native Irish family, but they all get anglicised down to Lally.
If I control, you're definitely an old troll there, aren't you? Like you're saying you're in the Pictish, what was it, the Connacht region, and then you're chucking Pictland like there's no tar in there. You're wild. There's no way you're a Connacht man. That Connacht man would never say anything like that. You're definitely not a descendant of the Enail, that's for sure. Like, there's no way you're the same lineage as my mother's side. Like, you just no, you'd be burned out as Sligo. Like, you know that. What was it called? And you look like you want to expand on something there.
No, someone was asking about Edmund Campion. I've lost. There's so many comments. I'm finding it hard to keep up because, like, they disappear. Someone did ask about Edmund Campion. Oh yeah, I have a campfire speaker. Have you ever seen Saint Edmund Campion's 1571 History of Ireland? He gives some time to the Picts and Irish ancestry. It's a famous book, partly because Campion is famous because and actually that's the first time I've seen him referred to as saint. I think he was canonized, but people normally refer to him as Edmund Campion. He got executed and not in a very nice way. I know there's no good way of being executed, but the traditional English way of executing people was brutal. I won't go into details; we'll get demonetized.
Yeah,
But
that's the joys of
his book influenced, like Holland said, which had an influence on Shakespeare as well. In terms of an actual history of Ireland, going back about Picts, etc., it's not a good history of Ireland.
it.
It's interesting in that he had help writing this from a guy called Stannishead, someone like that, who was an old English. He was an official. Has written a couple of books. You can find those books in Hodges Figures in Dublin. So his work gives an interesting view of the Old English perspective in the a Catholic Old English perspective, that they are saying the Old English kingdom was great. We went to Ireland and we civilized them, and we should be supported. The Gaelic Irish, they're savages, but there are pet savages, and at least they're Catholic. So let's civilize them in a nice way. But in terms of as a history, it's not a good history. It's a book people read as a documentary evidence of what people were thinking at that time. So
okay. I need to challenge this one just because there's a slight insult in it.
Yeah, go on.
I need to go in. No, it's just someone said something. I don't know what their comment was, but it says it is widely accepted that the Cruithne were Picts. The Scottish Gaelic word for Pict is Cruithne. For crying out loud, don't listen to this guy. He's a fraud. Now, I will start with it's not widely accepted at all. Ian Adamson is on the fringe, the late Ian Adamson, and I feel bad for having to mention him in any terms where he's unable to defend himself anymore.
He's lost it now. You pissed him off.
Yeah, I need a charge. I just got a 5% warning. So yeah, but his research is widely discredited, not widely accepted. So I will just say that it is a fringe support. I'm not saying whether you should not go out and read his work. He was not a professional historian. He was an amateur historian, but he does some great research. I just believe with his research, he sees one, sees another one, and adds it to three. But he does very good work in finding that one and that one. But anyway, so the Cruithne, I need to put this on. The Cruithne are or Cruithnic is literally a word for a Pict. That's correct. Cruithne in Irish sources, clearly it's the same word family as Pict. But that doesn't force the conclusion that the Ulster Cruithne and the Picts of Northern Scotland are in a similar ethnic sense, because Pict is a term. It's a label, not a DNA test. It's like saying Roman or and later Gaels. It's an umbrella term. But the Ulster Cruithne are they're already operating inside the Gaelic language institutions. They're God's sake. I know this is distracting me putting this on and then trying to do it at the same time. The speakers, no evidence they spoke anything other than Gaelic. Operating within the Gaelic system, we're operating in the Gaelic world. There's no archaeological evidence to distinguish them from their local neighbours in Ulster. So they're, they sure, yes, we do believe they were part of early migration groups into Ireland from mainland Britain, but these are Bronze Age movements. These are not Brythonic cultures. These are not anything that can be linked to the Britons in some weird political term. These aren't they aren't the same thing. So, if anyone wants to add on that, Owen O'Neill, if you want to add in as well.
First of all, I thought you were going to argue with me about my view of Edmund Campion. I thought you were the one defender Redmond Campion in the 21st century. No, but I agree with what you said. They said it very well. I think people, even with DNA tests, etc., they get too fixed up about borders, boundaries. Fat controllers saying the Pecs were an ethnic group. What the hell is an ethnic group? Everywhere, Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, France, Portugal, we are quite close. People moved from one to the other. DNA would have got mixed up. People intermarried. People spread DNA in other less nice ways as well. There would going back in history, people say that, for example, the Irish language is a Celtic language. Fair enough, they have the tree worked out. But what is the relationship between the Gaelic Irish and the so-called Celts who were in wherever they were way back, Latene and Halstead? There doesn't seem to be much. The Celtness, if you can say, of Ireland, of Gaelic Ireland, is something cultural. Culture is very important. Sort of, you have, the Gaels didn't come from Scythia. You had, you're living in a society, you're living in a culture. Culture is very important. Culture is defining. Look at go through the annals, read through all the state records, look at the intermarriage between Irish kings and Saxon kings. I think Niall Hosta's mother was Saxon. I think the great-grandmother of Neil Glundov was Saxon. Marriage happened, intermarriage happened. There's no pure bloods. And this idea of the Gaels coming from Scythia, no. The people who came, the last big change in Irish DNA occurred between the Neolithic and Bronze Age. Yes, the people then, they did start off in the steppes, probably Ukraine way, similar to where the Scythians, but the Scythians emerged 2,000 years later. I know that what's his name, Spencer, and a few others came up with and some Scots guys that, we're descended from Scythia. That's just picking a name kind of at random. And like the Bell Beakers are, someone is asking who they were. They were a Bronze Age culture. 50 years ago, they thought that there was no Bell Beakers in Ireland. Now they're finding more and more and more and more of it. There's DNA evidence, ancient DNA evidence changes every 10 years. Like 20 years ago, people were saying, the closest Irish DNA is Basque. It's not. It gets overturned a lot.
Yeah, I like I said, this I don't want to indulge too much in it because he's very in his opinions. He's welcome to his opinions, and I've had many discussions. But like you say, there's not a pure heritage. The Picts weren't a homogenous group. They and even as a cultural group, it's only when I believe it's the kingdom that would be around Moray started to dominate, and they emerged. They consolidated with the Caledonians. That you start to see a sort of Pictish cultural group that could sort of be from a glance from outside, from a distance, would look homogenous. But obviously, when you start to get into local levels, it's the very same as Gaels, early Gaels. What you start to get the differences. These aren't one people. And it's the same today. He's saying, someone said about, like, if I put out a sombra, I'm not suddenly Spanish. No, but if you start speaking Spanish, you start doing Spanish cultural things, and you marry a Spanish woman, and your children start having, and then their grandchildren, eventually they become and will see themselves as Spanish, and that's how culture works. No group comes from one progenitor 5,000 years ago. Maybe actually 5,000 years ago. That's about it, because we do come from one individual 5,000 years.
Just in relation to culture, the English love to get children, especially elder sons of Gaelic and Old English lords, and bring them to London. Donal O'Brien, 4th Earl of Thomond. He gets raised a Protestant in England. He gets completely anglicized. There's even a word for it, anglicized. He fights on the English side. The last Earl Inchquin died last year. If you listen to, before he died, you can go on the radio and hear his voice. He's English. He's descended from Brian Boru, but you hear him speaking. He's English. He was educated, I think, in Eton or somewhere like that. Queen Elizabeth II, the one who died there recently, she is somehow related to the O'Briens through, I think, maybe Anne Boleyn or someone like that. Because all European monarchs are descended from, like, because they intermarried so much between the 16th and 19th century. They all carry DNA of every other king. But Elizabeth II, she was English. Maybe German, but English. She wasn't Irish. She's descended from Brian Boru, but there's no way she was Irish. To be High King of Ireland, you didn't have to trace your lineage. You had to take power.
I was just thinking that. Because I heard Brian Boru, like, Fat Controller, you are inviting me to your house. I want to see your kitchen. I want to see you having this mapped out, okay? Because I'm reading this, man, and I'm trying to bite my lips so much with laughter.
Well, I'll tell you right now, a lot of my interpretation of his understanding comes from a lot of Scottish literature, 19th century, where they really tried to over-egg a Brittonic Breton connection to places like Ulster. It was a lot of heavy British propaganda and rewriting that happened in the 19th century, especially with Scottish writers, and then was adopted by the likes of Ian Adamson, the late Ian Adamson, and then has been used by political groups since. It's a bit like the Tribes of Israel and those sort of arguments, and the earlier English writings about Brutus. It falls into that category. None of it is, I will just say, it's fine. You can go read it. You can believe it. It's fine. But I will just say that just categorically, none of it is believed by mainstream academia at all. The vast majority of mainstream academia does not support any of this kind of thinking. And if you want to believe that they're all wrong, fine. But I'm just saying that the consensus among academics today, the majority, and I would even push out to say like 90% of the majority do not believe any of this sort of stuff happened. So, so again,
just go read J.P. Mallory, The Origins of the Irish, and then read that and come back and argue with me. And also, I would also read FX. Is it FX Byrne? Irish Kings and High Kings, and then Catherine Sims, her work on kingship from kings to warlords or something like that. Read those ones. Read those ones, and then we can come back. In the 19th century, from the 16th to the 19th to the 20th century, in fact, loads of crap was written about Gaelic kingship, Scottish kingship. Oh, we're descended from this group. They're descended from that group. As someone said it there, we're all Yamanama. Someone said, yes, basically that's what we are. The last big change in Irish DNA was in the Bronze Age.
Yeah,
and you'll find the same basic DNA in Scotland, in England, etc., etc., etc. There are differences, but that's where it came from. Culture.
Yeah, but like I said, these come from 19th century diffusionist ideas, and they're not accepted today.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are accepted today, like big history and stuff. But at least, as Fat Controller pointed out, at least he doesn't believe, because up where Fat Controller is living, there's a lot of lads right now that believe they came out of the potato earth of Connacht right now. So at least he's not that bad, He could be worse.
Do you know that in the 1980s or something?
Go
an
on.
American lady wrote a book in which she wrote about or was it even more recently, about the potato goddess of the ancient
Yeah,
Celts,
go
the
on.
ancient Irish.
Go on.
Yeah,
I need to hear about this.
Google it, the potato goddess, some American, inventing
Goddess.
stories. Even though you have the misfortunate fact that the potato only came to
potato
Ireland
goddess.
in the late 16th century, we still in the
Oh,
past worship the potato goddess or god.
but it comes down from the Inca.
Well-
I have the Inca thing coming
Yeah,
in.
potatoes come from Peru,
Yeah.
and they only reached Ireland in the 16th century.
Oh no. Yeah, this has a rabbit hole to it. Oh Jesus. Yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, there
Um,
would be points. There would be points where I would actually have slight overlap with Fat Control, like the Dalriada migration into Scotland, the invasion of the Dalriada into Scotland, bringing Gaelic culture to Scotland. I don't support that theory either. I actually don't. My understanding or my perception is that Gaelic culture formed naturally on the Gaels didn't invade Ireland. It formed naturally in Ireland and parts of Scotland as a natural millions of micro transactions of cultural transactions, etc. And that it formed in this area. This is a natural product of multiple migrations. So I would say that any claim about the Dalriada going to Scotland as an invasion group, I have my disagreements with it, but I think it's a medieval origin story to simplify what I'm trying to simplify here now. So I would say we have some overlap in thinking, but very small, very small. But yeah, I think you're right to JP Mallory is. I know you recommended me that book a couple of years ago, and it definitely was a great read, and I would reiterate it to anyone else who wants to get a good understanding.
Michal is having.
I discovered the potato goddess.
Yeah.
Edane McCoy wrote a book with an Irish pagan tradition, and where she claims that the Irish great goddess held the potato as sacred because they grew underground. Potatoes were sacred to the goddess and used in female fertility rites. It doesn't say when the book was published, but so go look that up.
Well, you said the same thing a few years ago, which I never knew about, which was about St. Patrick's names, and how that was a mistranslation of some nicknames by an American who then put two nicknames together. Yeah, put two names together, and now that's heavily believed. That's his original name is. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't even remember. But yes, yeah, and that's another one that's a modern misconception that's taken some traction.
With St. Patrick, St. Patrick says in his.
Oh, here, just 1 second. Fat Controller, you tripped over yourself there. You says the 6th century. That happened in 357 AD. What you just said there happened in 357 AD. You tripped over yourself there. You go back there and fix that. Go in there, carry on, because he was saying about how nobody even considered Connacht became Gaelicized until the 6th century AD. The Fair Bolg lived there. I was thinking to myself, that doesn't sound right, and I looked it up there. That's 357 AD. So you tripped over yourself there. Go over there now and fix that.
St. Patrick chased the potatoes to Peru. Brilliant comment.
Go on.
Okay, I remembered what I was saying. So St. Patrick in his Confessio says, my name is Patrick. And then jump forward almost 200 years, and then there is a bishop writing a book about Patrick, which creates a whole pile of the so-called stories about him. And he gives 4 names to St. Patrick. Where he got them from, God only knows. And then jump forward until 1980 something, and this librarian in the States takes 2 of those names, and says St. Patrick's real name was Maelwyn Succat, Succat. And She even says, and that's because one of those meant something in English. So she made his family English speaking when in fact they would have been Latin and Britannic speaking. So it's history is full
Yeah, I
of that.
believe.
Right,
I
one
believe
second.
when I got into
Fat Controller, are you trying? Sorry for putting in there. Fat Controller, are you trying to apply that Saint Bridget and the Fallborg were fighting each other? Is that what you're trying to say here? Because I'm reading your comments and you're putting Saint Bridget at the same time as the Fallborg. Are you trying to say the two of them are fighting each other? Is that what you're actually trying to ultimately say here? What's going on here, man? Because your dates are all over the
she
place.
was some arm wrestler, like.
Oh, she's some woman, like, you know, from fighting space aliens to bloody, what was it called? Fighting the Picts to suddenly fighting now the Fallborg as well. Like, she's some woman for, yeah. Go on there, Michal. What were you saying?
St. Brendan the Navigator. No. Nice one, Kevin. St. Brendan the Navigator brought potatoes to the Americas. Then the English killed them off in Ireland.
It's all the English's fault.
Should we move on a bit and try and get some sense back in this?
Yeah. I don't know. This is madness. Because what's it called? Fat Controller, you're mixing up your dates. You have Saint Bridget at the same time as the Fallborg, right? So now you have the Fallborg and Saint Bridget fighting each other. That's why I told you go and correct your dates, because now you have the two of them fighting each other. That's the same period as Saint Bridget? That's not the same centuries, man. Go on anyway. Sorry, lads. But he did mix up his dates. Go on anyway.
No, I would just say, Fat Controller, you literally have 3 people here who are willing to answer your questions. And
I think it's good crack anyway.
Between the 3 of us. No. Between the 3 of us, I think there's not a whole lot of general Irish history that we couldn't cover during from the early medieval period to the early modern period.
How could you not say the dates don't matter?
So what I'm saying is that why not ask questions instead of making statements, and then maybe we can have a proper discussion rather than coming at each other from an attack standpoint, because nobody's ever going to listen to each other when you go.
To be fair, he's not really attacking; he's just trolling. Like, because now he's mixed up the dates. Go on.
He's not. This is a genuine belief. So I know who I'm speaking to. So, but I don't want to be seen as condescending or mocking. So I just would say, come at it with a bit more. Just ask questions and find out what we've studied, what we believe, what we think, and then if you disagree with it, make a point, and then that's it. We'll leave it there. Let's come at it with good faith. And yes, I did turn into Garfield the Cat, Jim. Just the frustration with this kind of line of thinking, even beyond the grave, Dr. Ian Adamson haunts me from my comment sections.
Well, the giveaway is when he mixed up the date, the 6th century, with what was it? So I have it here, 357 AD, right? So if you put it the 6th century, and this is why the date does matter, is if you put it the 6th century, then you're in the same period of the likes of St. Ciarán and St. Bridget, and then they would be fighting each other. Wouldn't that make sense? I don't know. He's definitely trolling. Like, 3 qualified historians, yeah, pretty much. 3 qualified historians are scratching their head and wondering why St. Bridget and the Fallborg are fighting each other. Like, what was it called?
There's a lot of head scratching going on here. But I am now a full supporter since Brendan the Navigator brought potatoes to the Americas, and then the English killed them off. I will be writing a thesis on this and followed by a book.
I found there's an even better comment. What about Mr. Tato's Kingship of Mead?
Oh, aye.
Well, that's where Tato World was. That's where Tato World used to be, and that's Southern Tato's. Southern Tato's.
Well, right, Civil War, where there's Ulster's going back to war. This not over cattle, it's over Tito crisps.
Do you want to do a family? Someone, I think Sean McGrath asked ages and ages and ages ago about the McGraths.
The McGraths. Tell us about the McGraths, Michal.
The McGraths.
And also, chuck in more surnames there as well, guys.
Yeah, I thought you were just like me, just randomly just pick surnames out of a hat or something.
Just back over to the Fat Controller, but that's also not the 6th century either. Go on, anyway. You're terrible with dates, Fat Controller. You're jumping around with them dates. Because that date then is, the one you just chucked in there, is 464. So that would be the... And also, once I looked that up, that's straight into Niall of the Nine Hostages, which then goes back to the Gael again, like. So you're not connecting this back to the Picts. Your dates are all over the place, and you're not connecting it back to the Picts again. Go on anyway, what are you saying, Michal?
No, it's just the McGraths, primarily the two main steps of the McGraths are Fermanagh. There's a branch in Fermanagh, and then there is a Ernest branch, I believe, or a learned branch from Munster. So you get
getting very worked up there. Go on, sorry, Michal.
No, it's fine. So you've got it come like McGrath, McCraith, Creeth, it's all those sort of variations. The Munster family, I would probably say maybe are the most famous just because they are a learned family. So they appear more in the annals than the Fermanagh family, but they're unrelated. So primarily they're the two main, they're the two bigger ones.
Happy days.
I was trying to think, did I see a name earlier?
How do we pronounce McGrath? McGrath. The Irish pronounce it McGrath.
McGrath. Yeah. I suppose if you anglicize it, McGrath would be a common way of saying, because that's another thing we have problems with. There's a lot of names, like especially from Scotland, like not just that, but in Scottish names. So you'll have two names that are quite famously mispronounced, Dalzell and Menzies. Now those are both variations of the name. That's not how they're pronounced in Scotland. But if the minute you come out of Scotland, they are pronounced like that. So I had a friend who I used to work with before he passed. His surname was Dalzell. Now, if he went to Scotland, he's from an Ulster Scotch family. But if he went to Scotland, he pronounced his name Dalzell. And in fact, he got the nickname Diesel. So we completely corrupted his surname even more. He would have, the family would have been horrified distant family would be horrified at how he's pronouncing it, and they still have that Ulster Scotch connection. So I will just say I'm not a stickler for pronunciation, purely because most of them are corruptions of the original Gaelic or Gaelic or other language terms. So pronounce it however you want if you're from anywhere. But like McGrath is the most common pronunciation in Ireland, which Owen is correct.
Here, Fat Controller, did you get your qualification in the Dole office? Because you mixed, 357 with the 6th century. Go on anyway, lads. Where was I? We'll pick out another surname, shall we?
I will just... someone said about the McLeans, I think, earlier. I remember seeing McLean, or did they just ask a question and have McLean in it? I'm trying to scroll through.
Someone asked, Celtic Jinky asked way back, is Shane the same name as Sean? Yes. Shane O'Neill, if you see his name written in Irish, is Sean O'Neill. But it's also the same name as Owen. But it's funny in that
it's also the same name as John.
Yeah, but Sean is a Gaelicization of the French, Jean. There's no J in the Irish language, so the J somehow got turned into an S. Owen is John. Johann, I think it's Johann. It's a Hebrew name or a Jewish name originally, and it's one of the most common European names. Not when it's spelled Eoin. So, yes, Shane is Sean.
And actually, McLean. The funny thing is that McLean's actually a really good example of that, because it's Megillah Ian or Megillah Owen, which it means servant of John. So, it's funny that's the name. Someone asked that, and that's the name that we were just about to talk about. They are a Scottish family, primarily in origin. Isles of Mull and Tiree. I think there's a couple of other wee islands around there, but I don't know them all off by heart. But off the coast of Argyll and Bute is their sort of traditional sort of homeland. They are one of those seasonal families that I mentioned before, raiding under the Gallowglass, but not one of the families that settled. So they didn't have a constable family who would own land per se. If they did, we don't have enough records. There's not to say a smaller branch didn't exist. But most McLeans are of Scotland, and I'm not aware of an Irish family adopting the same way Irish families adopted Armstrong, Campbell, Hamilton. There's not really a record of an Irish family that I'm aware of that adopted the surname McLean.
Interesting. And where else we? Anyway, no one's feeding us with surnames.
That's because we stopped talking about them for so long. Where we talked about everything else. But people are just like, maybe it's not that kind of live anymore. Let me find. I did see one earlier. I'm going to go down school, and then that'll give someone time. Fact, like you spam so much.
Yeah, and he got all the dates wrong, and then he gets upset then when I correct his dates.
McFarlane. Somebody just asking about McFarlane.
Hang on, I just want
to make sure. Please. Creedon said descended from Partholon.
Yeah, see, McFarlane is an interesting one. Yeah. Do you need me to wait until you come back, or?
No. Just keep flying ahead. You can hold my hand.
Keep flying ahead. Okay.
Yeah, go
ahead. McFarlane is an interesting one, especially in Scotland. There's a lot of like early origin myths about McFarlane associated with the Battle of Bannockburn, but they don't. The name from Parlin, there's not a lot known actually recorded about the original Parlin, and so a lot of what is sort of stated about the early history, the links to different king groups, and I believe an early king as well, is conjecture or later on myth, or stuff like that. So they are a Scottish family, and that do sort of have a brief mention in the middle of the Middle Ages in the 12th, 13th century. And then they sort of disappear again for a wee while, and then they appear back up again later on. And they have quite a prominent role in later conflicts. But their early origin in Scotland is highly debated. There is one individual, though, that I will put you onto, who is Clint Edwards at Scottish Clans podcast. He is a descendant of the McFarlanes, and he is doing and has done extensive research into the family to try and get an answer to this, and obviously has an invested interest in finding out what is the origins of the McFarlanes. Again, it's a Scottish surname primarily, There are smaller Irish branches, but a lot of them sort of don't really appear till later either, or briefly appear and then we don't see anything for them. One of them is within the area known as it was a tribal group of Archeala, so you're looking like Armagh, Monaghan, and they were their Irish variation was Parthaleen, so but it got anglicised to McFarlane in some places. So just anywhere along the southern regions of Ulster, you would find quite a few McFarlanes.
Queven is asked about, there's a lot of names coming in now. Queven is asked about Manley or Monelly of Mayo. The name I don't recognize at all.
Geez, I'm trying to scroll back up so I can see who was the individual. Sorry,
Queven Muraku.
I can see his comments back control there. Just
it's just above the McFarlane one.
Yeah, we need what we need is Philip to
throw it out. Because while you're looking for that one, someone is asking about Sugru, and I'll ask that because I know that name quite well. Kevin, you're asked what you can tell us about Sugru. I've been listening to Michael Sugru's lectures on YouTube. First of all, it's a Kerry name, but the English pronunciation is not Sugru, it's Shukru. So if you come down to South Kerry, and there's a fair whack of that family around, and if you ask for Mr. Sugru, you won't find them. You have to pronounce it Shukru, which is basically the Irish spelling, the Irish pronunciation. Shukru. I think they were spread a bit around Kerry, Cork, Limerick, and as far as I know, it's a Norse name. Shukrud. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's where the name comes from.
As in, they're a family that adopted a Norse name, like
maybe it was a Norse. Maybe it was a Norse guy. He settled down, and then they just took on the name Shukru, descendants of Shukru. Like the Irish spelling and the old Norse spelling is quite different.
Right. Oh, right. I was trying to remember. Like, I knew it was a Kerry name. I didn't know there was a Norse sort of link to that name. So it's always interesting whenever you sort of and I would never. So how's the Irish pronunciation again? How would I pronounce that in Kerry?
Shukru. And if you see the spelling, it's O father SIOCH or U father. So
yes, yes.
Shukru.
Yes, yes, Shukru. Yes, I now know the I now know that. I found Queven's comment there. Yes. But I've lost it again. There we go. Yes, so Manelli. I don't know why I was having. I don't know why I was having thought that was an O. But I think Manelli, Manly, stuff like that. They were probably the etymology that would probably make sense. That they're all kind of related to each other. I must admit, I'm not entirely sure of it being specifically associated with Mayo. I am aware of a Donegal branch. Now I wonder if that they are related to each other, because the O'Manellys are a branch of the O'Dohertys in Inishowen. So they have early links to Rappo, Toredna, the Kingdom of Toredna, where the O'Dohertys do. So there is, I know of the Donegal branch, I don't know if the Mayo branch are related to them or not, or if they're part of another group. Just off the top of my head, I obviously don't have as much time to sort of research all 10,000 Irish surnames. But I will look into that and find out if there's any connection to the Donegal line, because obviously I've spoke about earlier how Donegal and Mayo have a lot of overlapping families with each other. So they could be one and the same, or they could be not. I think it was Clark Control asking about another name there that I see. McMansion?
I think that's a joke.
Okay. I was going to say, is it a corruption of McMahon or McManus or McMeema?
Jim O'Neill was asking how to pronounce his name, Oscuelga. Seamus Prunches Lud O'Neill. I don't know what the Lud is. The other one, Seamus, it doesn't have a H. It only has the H if you're calling someone. Seamus, but if you say Seamus, that's when the H goes in. And they don't really no one really uses UI FOD. Well, you do, but it's in a funny case to do with married women. But your name would be O Fada N E Fada IL O'Neill. So it would be Seamus O'Neill. And I presume your second name is Franz Pontius. I don't know what the Lud is. And Queven is saying that the Shukroos are a sept of the O'Sullivans.
Sorry, you broke up on my thing. And
the Shukroos, someone was saying, Queven was saying that they're one of the O'Sullivan septs.
Yes, well, they claim it anyway, in the sense of it's stated on their website and in general, like Wikipedia's and stuff. That's why I knew the name, why it popped up as one of their branches, like the McGillicuddies. But I have never found where that link comes from, and whether it's now. So there's a lot of families that do get. Later on, we associate them as septs of another family, but actually they're just vassals who've either changed their lineage to become part of the wider king group, or it's a later assumption by later historians. We've got some great historians like Wolfe, etc., who, but there have been, they did make mistakes at the same time too. So. The Shukru, that's why I recognize the name when she's pronounced, not when you pronounced it, but when you spelled it, because I wouldn't know the original pronunciation. That's why I always tell people, put it in English, because I don't know, my Irish isn't that great, so especially for thousands of surnames. So they're asking about Kelpie. Kelpie is a Scottish surname as far as I'm aware. Definitely doesn't have an Irish origin. At a push, maybe it's a corruption of Kilty, but that's me completely speculating. I don't know. So Kelpie could be an English or a Scottish surname. Sounds similar to a Scottish surname, so my educated guess, just on its etymology, I would say it's a Scottish surname, but there's definitely no native Irish or surnames being anglicized to Kilty.
Dennis is asking about Lamass, as in Sean Lamass. I think it's a French name, Lamass. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it means. I think it's probably a Huguenot name, because there was a significant immigration of Huguenots into Dublin in the 17th century, I think it was.
I didn't know that.
Near Stephen's Green, there's a Huguenot cemetery, or is it on Pearse Street? But there was, like, when I think it was Louis the 16th He revoked the guarantees of the Huguenots, and you have various religious wars. Many of them fled, and a large amount of came to Dublin. Many of them would have been merchants and stuff like that. And if you look around Dublin closely, you can find traces of them. And I presume that's where the name Lamass comes from.
Yeah, so another one person, I got Hughes, Hayes, North Welsh. That's a very common misconception because Hughes is a Welsh name, originally spelled Hews. Then it was taken on, I don't know if it was taken on by the Normans, but it was definitely made popular in Ireland when they came across to Ireland, because there's a lot of Hughes in the sort of in the English or Norman sort of armies, Hugh de Lacy, etc. But actually then the Irish, it's a corruption of A or E in Irish, which depends on your dialect, which is A-E D-H or A-O-D-H. And from that name, from Hughes, you can be descended from multiple branches like the Hayes, the McKays, the Keys, the O'Hadas, the McGees, all these sort of names come from the same eponym as that, which then get anglicized to Hughes. So a lot of Hugheses actually in Ireland aren't Welsh at all. Most of them are from, because there's more branches of Irish branches of the name, corruption of that initial name, A or E, that became anglicized to Hughes. You find that most Hughes are actually of native Irish stock. There's actually, if I remember, there's actually 13 or 14 different branches of Irish septs that have become Hughes. Their variation of the name sort of comes from Hughes. I cannot name them all off the top of my head. There's a couple in Ulster. There's at least 3 in Ulster. I know there's one in Meath. There's one in every one in every province for a fact. Clare linked to the Dalcash, a branch linked to the O'Kellys of the Avina. So yeah, there's a lot, but there's up to like 13. So most users will be of native Irish descent.
Oh my God, this is getting wild.
Just 1 point: Brehon law is an anglicization of Brehev, which means judge. And Kevin mentions a dozen or so of Shukros. Shukros have been Y-DNA tested. I assume they're Shukros. They're closely genetically related to a large group of Sullivans. I've never seen that name written down like that, but it has to be Shukru. It has to be. It's funny, South Kerry is recently a Gaeltacht area, so you'll find a lot of Irish pronunciation. There's a hill near me, a mountain. It's spelled Geocaun Mountain, Jeokaun. It's pronounced Geocaun in the Irish way. The same with Shukros, but I've like that spelling that Kevin mentioned. I presume it maybe was people who left Ireland in the early 19th century, and when they got to the States, that's how they wrote their name down. How the name grew. I've never seen that spelling in Ireland. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've never seen it, and it just shows
Caveman.
The spelling is SHUCKROW. So it just shows you how names can change. So like the Shukru, and they write down a spell like the normal anglicization is Sugru, but these people their spelling is more correct. They're writing it down the way it's actually pronounced. It just shows you how names can change and get confusing.
I could give
Caveman. I just want to quickly Caveman. He's looking to start on YouTube channel for my Clan Society in the new year. Shoot me a message if you need a hand setting that up, or B, when you've got it set up, if you want to appear on Clans and Dynasties to get a bit of promotion, we'll do a live because you've often been here and contributed to our chats and everything like that. So it's the least I can do is try and support you back. So
100%,
just shoot me a message on Facebook or something.
I have the
in
multi-stream
Facebook.
on the go there, so make sure to give us a comment there. I have no problem having Caveman jump on whenever. Because Caveman, the great thing about Caveman is that you can go back and forth with Caveman. It's not like the fat controller just trolling away there. Caveman, if I was to criticize Caveman, Caveman could take it on the chin and come back with something else, you know, and same vice versa. So I have no problem ever having Caveman on it. Fat controller, you're 100% of fucking troller. What kind of comment is this? No one ever from Galway would say this in a billion years. You're, and if you want to keep that fighting up in the Ulster area with Mihal, you do that, but you don't come down to Ireland's. You don't come down to Ireland's. You stay up there, boy.
There's someone asking an interesting question and a kind of serious question here.
Go ahead.
DJ MJ10.
Oh yeah, that was very good.
Provided. American here. Father was born in Chicago, but adopted as a baby. Our surname via his parents is Marshburn. His DNA test says he's approximately 75% Irish, 25% Native American. And then he has a follow-up. We've tried tracing where his Irish origins are from. We got as far as him having Norwegian blood mix and his people being from near Galway. We want to find his name, but not sure how. I honestly am not sure myself.
There is bright. Go on.
No, I can start off and sort of go from there. But first thing I will say to anyone listening that a lot of people will do autosomal testing, what's known as autosomal testing through groups such as Ancestry.com. And it will tell you have a very good example here, 75% Irish, 25% English. This is not really true. First things first, autosomal testing only goes back a few hundred years. A second thing is that actually in real DNA testing, not all your genetic, which is why I like argue against some people who use DNA as a matter of fact, not all your DNA gets inherited. So there are ancestors. I'll use an example, an easy example, and not to be racist, but you can have a black ancestor and it never show up within the last couple of hundred years, literally within the last great grandparent, and his DNA may never show up in your ancestry because it never got passed down. DNA is not passed down, distributed evenly it's distributed evenly to each parent, and then when you become a grandparent, your DNA gets distributed minutely. So there you can actually have a great grandparent who was black and from Africa and had a long lineage there, and you may never know about it because the DNA isn't passed down in the genetic coding. So that's the way DNA works for starts. So when people say I am a direct descendant of this person, you might actually have no real genetic relation to that person, even if you are a descendant of them. So that's another point to raise up. Second point is that the autosomal testing is to do with people in Galway. If your ancestor is saying that you've got connections to Galway, it's saying that what they've done is everyone in Galway or linked to Galway with evidence of, so mostly they try and use people who've got proven records of descent, an ancestor within the last 200 years living in that area. And then they go, everyone who tests with this grouping have records that show Galway, so anyone who may be related to them or have similar genetic relations to them are lumped into that too. So you might actually have no connection to Galway. You could just be related to people who have connections to Galway. So you've got to be really careful with autosomal testing to take it as a benchmark, and a very basic benchmark at that. If you want proper DNA testing or better DNA testing, Y-DNA testing is a really good one, because that is a genetic code that is passed down from father to son, father to son, father to son. And although it does have genetic breaks in it, they're very good at these snippets of attaching them back into their main paternal line from, say, Niall of 9 Hostages. And same with if you're a woman, you've got mtDNA testing, which is the genetic code passed on from mother to daughter. Anyway, so just be careful with that whenever you sort of see anything like, oh, I've got 50% Irish or whatever, and you'll notice every year it changes, the number changes as they get more information put in. As for the surname Mashburn, it's not an Irish surname. It's I believe it's an English surname, if I'm not mistaken. Most English surnames are locational, habitational. So you're probably going to be looking for a town or village called Mashburn in England that would have that sort of link to it. It's definitely not an Irish surname in any sort of and if so yeah, this Norse ancestry showing up in their autosomal testing, if it is autosomal testing you've taken part in, it won't be Viking DNA. It could just be someone who moved to the Americas in the last 150 years, 200 years, who was of Norse descent, or had family relations that are of Norse descent. So again, I believe Caveman's probably a far better person to speak to about real DNA testing. I would recommend the Big Y test, yes.
Just to correct Fat Controller again, you got your date wrong again. That is 1124, not 1169, okay? And that's by the O'Connors, okay? So you got that date wrong again. The town was set up in 1124, okay? You got that one wrong again. Plus, also on top of that as well, have you read the book, what was it called? The English Invasion of 1169. It came out last year, which also debates the term Norman as well, because they're very mixed by the time they come into Ireland, which is the combination of the Cambro-Normans and the Anglo-Normans. So even using the term Norman is very debatable in itself. Any other questions?
I will just say, Lukey, I will just say, Lukey says about he went from 98% to 70% Irish on 23andMe when version 7 came out. Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, I'm born and bred here, but my mother is of an English family. Convinced that they had all these kind of links to all these groupings of peoples, and when their DNA testing came out, it just said there wasn't any of that. And so my DNA testing goes, my father's side went from 100% Irish down to 98% Irish. He's from Ulster, so you would expect some Scottish influence, back up to 100% Irish again. So either we're a very close-knit family back in the day, maybe too close, or their testings they haven't got enough testing for people who are related to him. So yeah, it's just one of those things you just got to be wary of. Don't hinge your whole identity on an autosomal testing kit. You know, it would be my advice.
I think there's a difference between a crannog and a city for sure. For Controller, do you know the difference between a crannog and a town and a settlement? Because I think you're mixing up a crannog between a town and settlement.
Also, the Normans didn't build. There's records of a castle being built where Galway is now before the Normans were there.
Yeah.
And now it's referred to as a castle. I will just say it. So I'm not stating that it is a stone castle. It is just referred to by medieval.
It's a Moat and Bailey castle.
Writers. Yeah,
but
that I didn't want to go into that debate about the Irish building Moat and Bailey before. But what I'm saying is that there is a reference to castle being built in that area before the Normans arrived, and then the Norman specifically says that the Normans built a castle on top of that castle. What there is but saying something.
You see,
Crannogs were not.
Fat Controller, you're just crying now. He can't. Right. You see, Fat Controller can't tell the difference between the dates. He can't tell the difference between the Crannog and a town. Oh, just stop.
Well, I will just say, Crannogs are not isolated settlements. They are part of a network. Irish settlements were not isolated rural, abandoned places. They were often part of a network where you would have a crannog, a monastic site, a hill fort, even a town, a village, and these were all interconnected because most tribal kingship now was very about mobility. You had to be constantly on the move, and it was quite a mobile society. You had in Ulster. In later century, 16th century, I think, it's recorded that you would have villages on the bottom of a hill and a village at the top of the hill, and the farmers would migrate between these, or the cattle farmers would migrate between these two villages with the season because they're moving with their cattle. So they would abandon a village completely, and it was that information that the Ulster plantations started to use that propaganda later on to justify in the 18th and 19th century, to justify the Ulster plantation, was to say, sure, Ulster was practically abandoned anyway. It was just, there was nothing there in the large parts. And actually they were using these abandoned villages as this like evidence, when actually it was just families moving up and down the hill with the cattle.
And some cranogs, like at the end of the 16th century, had quite sophisticated castles in them in Ulster. Some were wooden castle, and others were stone castles. It's a cranog is not a mud hut on stilts, usually a lake. It is some sort of fortification or house, often on an artificial island. It's not stilted. There's normally land there first, which it can be artificial, and on top of that, you build some sort of fortification, the same way as like sort of the colonists in the Americas, like in the New England, etc. They built fortified houses and fortified forts like that. You can find them in the Iron Age, but then they had a rebirth and a renaissance in the 16th century because they were very effective as places of defense, as places of storage against the English, because they were difficult to get to. And there was one actual recorded, I think it was 1590, it could have been 1600, and it was one of Hugh O'Neill's main ones, and so it's full of ammunition. And so the English attacked it, and the Gaelic Irish just sat off in the cranog, like shouting at the English. And the English resorted, they got fire arrows, so they got bows and arrows, lit their arrows, and fired enough of them, they set the thing on fire and blew it up. Sort of, which is quite funny.
Yeah, there was actually, during that time period, there was written work that the English started saying that they were areas of dissent where dissent could arise. They were these little rebel holes. So there was an actual systematic attempt to remove these. And in response to that, the Irish started to be very, what we like to refer to, with like the Temple Bar in Dublin, of being a bit Irish. The Irish started being a bit more like playing into it more about how important these things were. Basically, it's the I mean, they were important and they always have been, but I think you can sort of see that they just sort of typical Irish sort of, like, fuck off. We can't have them. We'll have them then if we're not allowed them. So,
Fat Controller, it wasn't the people, and it's not straw houses. It wasn't the people in the cranog firing arrows. It was the English army force firing fire arrows. It would have. This one was a substantial wooden building. It probably had a thatched roof, and there's a difference between thatch and straw. Cranogs. It's funny. There is a geographical division in Ireland in terms of cranogs. In Munster, in the southern half, there are not many cranogs. I know there's one, or there's the island left in Lough Ger, but there's very few. Whereas if you go to the north of Ireland, to Ulster, to Tyrone, I think Monaghan especially, because there's all those little lakes in Monaghan. And I presume Mayo and Donegal, you'll find loads and loads and loads of cranogs. Tyrrell had a secret crannog. I don't know if it was a crannog. He had a castle in an island in the middle of a river. It wasn't actually his. It would belong to some other family that he borrowed from. And Mountjoy captured it, but had great difficulty capturing it.
No, I think Fat Controller is just upset there because he mixed up the dates of 1124 and 1169. Again, Fat Controller. Again, you mixed up the dates. Go on, Michal. What are you saying?
No, I will just say I do have a video about crannogs and how their early formation and what denotes as a crannog. And actually, towards the end, I had done a bit of research and found a lot of crannogs that still exist today, as in like you could see the artificial island that are attributed to families. So a bit of self-plug in there. If you want to find my short about it, it's but there's a load of families on there that they reference from the annals to to a family, and then I've been able to locate it in a lock or something, or another historian's done it and I've copied the work.
And then in 1600, 1601, 1602, when Mountjoy was campaigning in Ulster, he brought this guy along whose name I can't remember, but he drew some very, very beautiful colored engravings of this campaign, including various crannogs. And they are very interesting to look at. And you can see that there's one it just looks like a castle, like a moated castle, because the crannog is that big. They were published in a book called The Queen's Last Mapmakers, because the guy drawing the picture got his head chopped off in Tyrconnell. But his pictures are quite famous.
I will just say, do you know O'Boyle's Castle? Well, it's called O'Boyle's Castle. It's the ring fort on the island in Donegal.
I know of it.
Yes. I wonder, does that count as a ring fort or a crannog? I'm just sort of pondering on that. Not really.
Or both.
Or both, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose both. Lough Erne has 150 plus islands. Many had crannogs, and that's one in Scotland. There you go. That's I believe that's a museum that got burned down. Yeah, and they've just rebuilt it.
That's the one where Hamish is working. Hamish wants to come onto the channel next year. We'll try to get Hamish on at some stage. But yeah, Hamish works on this crannog up in Scotland, as you were saying there, Michal.
But I think Scottish crannogs are earlier than the Irish, and then I don't think they reappear in the early modern period the way they do in Gaelic Ireland.
I was going to say that as well, Jim. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
No, so there's a differentiation between an artificial island settlement and a crannog. And artificial island settlements exist in Scotland and Ireland around the same time. But what denotes as a crannog is typically it has a palisade or a defensive feature. So island settlements appear early Bronze and all like early history all through Europe, and then they become crannogs in Scotland, and then it's reintroduced. These island settlements are reintroduced in this new formation into Ireland, we believe from Scotland. But there was already island settlements in Ireland before that. They just became. And the problem with finding them as well is they're referred to as Ilishillion or Inishillion, which means like islands, or and they can often get in the early records, they can often get confused with natural features, natural islands, or monastic sites on islands. So it's sometimes hard to differentiate between what it is from what we have the writings of it and what we have of it today. So
just to be clear as well, crannogs are actually very, very warm. I've stayed in a crannog a few times, and once you get the fire going in the center, crannogs get very, very comfortable, especially in the cold winter months. So I have a fat controller there trying to make out that Cran Oaks are cold. No, they're very warm. In fact,
No, actually, I
but
think he's replying to Jim O'Neill there,
yeah,
because Jim O'Neill says would love to have an old home built of stone with a thatched roof.
mm.
Um,
He says then you would
you
until
would
winter
until
comes. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, stone takes quite a while to heat up. Like
Mm,
if you restored a castle, a tower
mm,
house, and you move into it, you're going to freeze for
mm,
about 6 months. You have to leave the heating on or have a big fire going for 6 months for
mm.
that stone to heat up. But once it heats up, you're happy.
Yeah.
You
Alright.
can turn off the heating,
Mm,
because the stone retains it very, very well.
mm,
Um, Thatch is quite good. The problem with thatch is insurance companies.
mm.
If you have a thatch roof in Ireland, you are going to pay a fortune in insurance, because insurance people think they burn down,
Mm.
when I don't think they do that much.
Yeah, it's just another excuse, isn't it? I'll
I
put
will just
Owen's
say,
channel there. Go on.
I will just say that none of these houses were cold or overwarm. They
Mm.
were built. If they were, they wouldn't have continued to use them for as long as they
Yeah.
did. They were kept. They were built because they worked. The ones that
Mm.
didn't work quickly fell out of use, and were no longer used. So yeah, and like my house is 200 years old, 250 years old, thick stone walls. Um, and yeah, it's cold if I haven't got the heating on. It's very cold very quickly. Not very
Mm.
quick. It's cold when I wake up in the morning. It's freezing. But once I've got that, like Owen says, once I've got those thick walls heated, there, it's warm all day.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
But like, I don't know if you've stayed in what was it called, a medieval home. Caveman has probably stayed in a medieval home, but I've stayed in a roundhouse, and gee, they're so comfortable. Once you get the fire going in the middle, oh, way better than my own home, to be honest with you. And it's because the fire's in the middle and the way the heat moves across the roundhouse. Oh, way more comfortable. You can see why people would rather stay in a roundhouse than their own tower house, especially during those winter months and stuff, because you always have people going, why are they still building Cran Oaks all the way up to the 16th century? And in my opinion, and maybe Owen will correct me on this one, I think it's comfort. I just think they're more comfortable than a tower house, to be quite honest with you. Like,
And they're more defensible. They're more
mm,
defensible.
yeah,
Jim O'Neill mentions, I read somewhere there's close to 500 smaller islands surrounding Ireland. I think it could be more, because
mm,
I know, what's that place up in Mayo near where Gráinne Whale is supposed to come from? You have Achill Island and it faces Clube. Jesus,
mm,
my brain is gone. It's
yep,
getting late.
it
There's
is.
supposed to be one island for each day of the year there, because
mm,
it's essentially a series of small drumlins that got flooded. It's the sea. Um, and like, I think there's about 20 islands that are inhabited. And then, like, I live in Valencia Island, which is no longer officially an island because there's a bridge. And
mm,
then there's two other islands off it. Two, what do you call an island off an island? two, two sub islands. And
Inlets.
then, yeah. And then, like, off the Dingle Peninsula, there's a Maharies, which is 20 or 30 islands. I
mm,
don't know how many islands there are off Cork. There's this, and then there's is it the Salty Islands off Wexford? There's loads and loads and loads of islands. I
mm,
don't think anyone's ever counted them. There's too many.
mm. Yeah, definitely
I
for sure.
suppose
Like,
it depends as well what you would constitute as an island worth counting. You know,
Yeah.
you get a lot of wee rocks just sticking out of the water. So yeah, how it depends on differentiate. I just right. Is there anything else? Because I should have gone 20 minutes ago, but you have had me waffling.
I think I'll head on. So we've been almost 2.5 hours. So should we wrap up?
I'll see. I have to plow away here because I'll check if Rachel wants to jump on at some stage to do what's it called. But you guys head away, and I'll keep the fork going here until Rachel jumps on, and we'll continue our little medieval chat with Rachel. in a bit. But yeah, you guys plow away there, and I'll just keep the old chat going. If you want to
I would just say to everyone, I think.
go on
ahead,
there.
Neil.
No, I was just going to say, I think anyone in our chats will, if you stay in the current chats, I think Philip will still be able to see the although Owen and I are leaving, the live will stay active.
Yeah, will do. I'll send actually Rachel if she's still jumping on today.
Queven mentioned my Sullivans and my fourth great grandfather, Owen O'Neill, came from Valencia Island. My O'Neills don't come from Valencia. My Kerry blood comes from Glen Bay, Kilorglan, and then I've traced my mother's family. Then some of them live up the mountains, and others I've traced back to Keel and Shanakeel, which is the beginning of the Dingle Peninsula. They were living in a shack up the mountains there before 1800. So, and then my mother's side the other side are O'Doolings. They were booted out of Leisure Offaly, and they came down to North Kerry, and then they moved into the Kerry Mountains around the same time. So my O'Neills are from some on my father's side, who's from Dublin.
I've traced to my great grandfather. That's it. I know nothing about my family.
Because I thought you'd have the whole thing mapped out at this stage, Michal.
Oh, I've tried. I have tried. Which is why I map everyone else's, just to make up. Yeah, I make up for the fact that I can't map my own. And maybe I'm hoping if I map everyone's family in Ireland, eventually I'll find my own within it.
I think those cities are too messy, because my own family are from Limerick, and then after, what was it, up to World War One, then it just becomes a complete mess, because I've had genealogists and myself looking at it. I had O'Shea and all those lads down in Cork and stuff look at it, and the problem is once you get into World War One, it just, like even World War II and stuff, it just becomes a complete mess in the whole Limerick area. So I think that's the problem with a lot of city areas, is it becomes a mess in that whole area, especially with all those surnames and stuff.
Officially we have a 200-year blank spot, and it's completely blank. So where we just cannot connect unless you are the St. Lawrence's of Dublin, or the Butlers or whatever. You're not finding anything, unfortunately.
And before 1800, it's really, really difficult. There's no records for the Catholic peasantry, so it just disappears. And I think I may be related to Kevin, or at least his great grandfather was my great grandfather's neighbor. Sort of. Kevin is saying I'm from Kilgarry Landers, the parish around there. Disparora too. I brought my daughter to a football match there. She was playing, and then some of the local team was training. So I said, "Where's Shanakeel?" which is the place in Keel where they had a plot of land. He said, "Oh, you go up there, go up the mountain, keep going." I said, "Okay, are there any Evanses around here?" He said, "Oh, there's loads. Half the team are Evanses." So my daughter was delighted. She finally found cousins. But and they all have the same, like going back to 1800, 1830. They all have the same names, and I can find certs of marriage, etc. But I don't know who they are, because they use the same names. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, there's loads of new people.
No, I know. No, I know. I know. I tried to find Doyle's in Southdown, where there's a huge population down there. It's very common surname down there. Couldn't find the origin, but what I did was I went down every Catholic church in County Down and parts of Armagh and mapped how many Doyles were in each one, mapped who they were, and found out that they basically worked in like a concentration of where the Doyles probably are from, just based on proximity of family. But it looks like the Doyles originate around a wee tiny 6-house village called Ballela in County Down. So if there's any Ballela Doyles, hello, I'm probably distantly related.
And Kevin is somehow my cousin. Anyone who has an Evans relative from Keel is, I don't know what cousin it is, but third cousin. No, it's maybe not third. I think fifth or sixth. Because my great grandfather moved out of there. It's funny. And Shellback Bow is asking, is that because of Cromwell? I presume the 200-year thing. It's just because there's no record. A lot got blown up, and also because the massive population were poor bloody peasants. The Catholic Church was essentially outlawed. There was no one keeping records seriously. So you have a huge amount of people getting married, having babies, getting born, dying, and they don't exist for the state.
For sure. Okay,
a load of Doyle's popping in now.
The Doyles are taking over.
We'll take over.
What was it called? I'll let you guys go off. So, Michal,
Right.
what are you doing? Are you doing any lives this week or next week for Christmas?
I do owe my members live. I was meant to go on last night, but we had a storm here, and it gave me a power cut, which broke my PC actually, which is why I had trouble getting on. So I do owe my members a live. I'm trying to figure out when it'll be before Christmas, which will be then my last live. But look out for a message on that. I'll try and squeeze it in somewhere. I'm trying to find the date that will work, but it's not looking easy so far. But keep an eye in the notes, comment section, not the comments, the posted section of YouTube for any updates. But if not, then I think we'll be getting close to that. Might be the last one until Christmas, and then New Year, new plans. Just we'll see what happens.
Yeah, same. I do have a lot of guests lined up. I've been chatting away to a good few lads now that want to jump on. So we do have plans coming on for next year for sure. Owen, what do you plan to do do you plan on doing anything next week or?
Yeah, because it's my birthday.
All right, party.
2 days before Christmas. Ugh. I will be releasing a video probably tomorrow evening. It's about the commemoration of the winter solstice, and then maybe Monday I'll do my weekly live, my 1 hourly weekly live. I have to have time to do some planning, and then after that it'll only be after Christmas.
Fair enough. Okay,
so we'll see you beforehand. Merry Christmas.
All right, I'll see when I see you, lads. I'll take over the fort, and I'll see what the story is with Rachel. I never actually asked her yesterday. I knew she wants to jump in at some stage, but I don't know. I think it's around my 10 a.m., which is about 2 hours from now. She'll probably jump on because we originally had this going on. What was it, 1 a.m. or something? I don't know, sometime anyway. But yeah, we've moved around at the times and stuff anyway. So I'll find out what time Rachel wants to jump on at. Was it 10 a.m. or what was it, 12 or whatever? I'll find out now anyway. I sent her an old message and I'll let you guys go off anyway. And I'll chat away for the lads for a bit. And then if Rachel doesn't jump on, then I'll finish up as well and wrap up. And yeah, I'll see everyone tomorrow then. With Melissa Shields. We have Melissa Shields is on tomorrow, and that's going to be on my channel, Irish Medieval History. If you haven't already joined, definitely join my channel. And also go over to the Creative Contessa's channel as well, Rachel's channel, where we'll be live streaming Melissa Shields as she talks about 16th century clothing. So definitely head on over there. Right, I'll see you, lads. Go on.
Okay.
Get out.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Happy Christmas. Enjoy yourselves.
I'll do it now. Go on, back off. Don't watch anymore. Come on, out you get.
Do I have to click leave or do I just?
Yeah, just get out. Press X. So yeah, get out.
Just like this, Owen.
What?
Yeah, there he goes. Do you not see how he did that?
Press X or press leave?
I think both of them will get the job done.
Oh, okay.
I see you, lads.
Bye.
Bye now. Right. Let's talk about Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas to yourselves as well. And anyone else who's popping into the chat there now. Merry Christmas, Kevin. What happened to you in fighting with your boss? Are you still fighting with your boss there? Uh, Jesus, there's no need for that now, Lukey. uh, now we can talk shit. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking straight away. Just could the boys talk a lot of shit. And thank God they took that other lad with them. Who was the other lad? Was the conductor. Them Ulster boys, I tell you that. Trouble, all of them. Now it's just us and the Munster boys. Merry Christmas and thanks for putting up with me. Lukey, you're running around like there's no tomorrow, jumping around to the different channels. Ugh. And Wayne hasn't rocked up there. He paid for membership on my YouTube, and he hasn't rocked up yet. Because I said there's a YouTube wants to give him a congratulations for becoming a member on what was it, the YouTube membership, and he hasn't rocked up to collect his well done yet. It's mad that what was it called? YouTube wants to give everybody a well done for signing up for the old membership with them. They'd have to at this stage because of the fact that Patreon pays more money than YouTube does, because YouTube takes such a high percentage. You know, no weekend off. Oh, jeez, you're having a very hard time, Kevin. They're just mad because they had to pay out for. Oh, Jesus, it's no wonder. I should have grabbed a drink of water before I started my rant. What was it called? Oh, there he is. Caveman's already signed up. When did you sign up, Caveman? And I noticed it didn't give you a well done. It gave Wayne a big, massive well done yesterday, and then it gave him a well done today as well. I was about to sign on, and it says make sure to give Wayne his well done for signing up. Sure, didn't even tell me or notified me that you signed up. I could trace my lineage even to the Eastern Roman Empire. Well, at least you can trace your lineage somewhere. That poor conductor fella couldn't, what was it called, trace his lineage anywhere. And he kept getting the bloody dates mixed up as well. That goes back a minute or two. Sure, Caveman rocked out. He flew over to Turkey yesterday. Got himself a beautiful Turkish wife. Where am I? 1 second there, Dennis. I'll pop over. Hey, Philip, did you have a phone raising the? Yeah, we got 25 quid. 1 second. I'll find Melissa's thing from yesterday. Jeez, my thing's jumping around as it's not tomorrow. Do you know what? I'll just focus on this chat and the other chat. I joined a few days ago, and it never even notified me. But cheers for that, Caveman. 1 second, Dennis. Actually, I'll find that link for you, the GoFundMe, because that was a good crack yesterday. And I've got another message there. 1 second. I'll fly over to Facebook and see what the crack is. Jumping on this early, I thought we were starting again. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's grand. Yeah, Rachel was the same with myself as well, because 1 second, I'll send that back over to Rachel. I'll try to wait for you guys for a while, and I'll get that GoFundMe up. No, Rachel sent me the message. I thought that was going to be the case all right with Rachel, because all the Christmas parties were on last night, sure, weren't they? And Rachel was out enjoying the Christmas parties. My wife was out as well for the Christmas meals as well. So we were up late last night as well. Everybody was up late last night, to be honest with you. Can you tell me about your channel? Irish Medieval History. There it is. Irish Medieval History over on YouTube and pretty much every platform at this stage. We're in the old tickety talk. But I cover more of the history side of things. That's why poor conductor, the poor conductor fellow, was having a hard time with me, because he kept tripping over his dates. The two lads would go into, why such and such it is, but I'm very kind of dates, and I have more kind of hard thing to it, you know. And it's the same with Rachel. Rachel's very much like facts. Um, instead of, because don't get me wrong, Mihal and Owen, they have their facts, but they have their overall, like they'll, like Owen for example will ask, okay, so why, like he specializes in the 9 Years War, and he needs to factually know why someone did A, B, and C. Where I'm more kind of like in 1527. What happened in 1527? Well, in 1527, you're going into the clan wars in Ireland. You know, that's where if you give me a date, I have to know what's going on in a date and stuff. That's where I go. Oh yeah, definitely go over to my. If you're joining and stuff, definitely go over to my. You can order. You're better off joining my Patreon. I get more of a percentage on the old Patreon than I do in YouTube, but YouTube's always good crack anyway. Or join everything, you know. Sorry, Dennis. I'll get back to you there in a second. Keep the waffle going there, lads, and I'll see if I can find 15th century clothing. Or I have to go through all the messages I sent Rachel, or Rachel sent me. Geez, there's a thing for everything. Okay, right. Give me just a second there, and I'll head over to Rachel's thing. You're a saint there. Subscribe. Just woke up. How are the numbers? And nothing special. Send me the link fast for the go. Yeah, I just sent Rachel. Rachel's online now, so she sent it over. But she's enjoying her time off now because she was out last night enjoying the Christmas parties. Let me pop over there. What was we saying there? The connection comes from Edward II's marriage to Isabel. 1 second, I got that message back. Dude, you're sent. Thank you. Boof, boof. Let's see if that works. This was temperamental yesterday. Tell me if this link works, will you? Because this was very temperamental yesterday. I sent that link there. And because that one's interesting, is what Caveman's saying there. Actually, I'll post it onto the main one. I'll put myself here and I'll put that one. Yeah, the connection comes from Edward II's marriage to Isabel of France. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because that was the She-Wolf one. The one that what was yesterday, that he most likely died of starvation, but as you know, a tour guide, I would definitely say he actually died from a hot poker, you know, because it's and she descended from Henry I, though his marriage to Anne of well, yeah, that's where it starts to get out there, doesn't it? And her grandmother. You see, this is proper genealogy here, like not what your lads were saying. What was it called? Your man was saying earlier in the comment section. Caveman, I kept dating this the stuff he was saying. I kept going into the dates. None of his dates were making any sense, Caveman. What was it? Make up, jump back over, because he was saying stuff, and I was like, those dates make no sense. And I looked it up. He was off by 200 years. And sure, yeah, the fact conductor, his dating was terrible. He had no clue what he was yapping on. No wonder he mixed up the pics with the yeah. But your Caveman, you're always very good at linking up the lineage, and it's easy to follow it when you post it up. But that fat conductor, no wonder he thinks the men of Galway are connected to. Well, no wonder he thinks that the Normans had built Galway, and his ancestors were waiting outside in the cold for how many years did he say? 500 years. Well, overall, it would be 700 years that his ancestors. So, the way he had put it together was that his ancestors would be waiting outside Galway for 700 years, waiting for the Normans to build Galway, and that his ancestors had come over to Pickland because he had mixed up the dates so bad, you know. And then when I pointed out there, sure, did he get upset about it, you know? but no wonder he's mixing it up. I think he's got mixed up from 3000 BC with the arrival of the Picts up to, and then he jumps all the way up to what was it? What was the next date he gave us? Well, he said 6th century, but it was 372. Was it 327? He mixed up. It was wild. I was looking up the dates for it, and it was absolutely wild. Funny, like, don't get me wrong, your man is funny, like, but putting in the dates, I was there typing away in the background, putting in the dates, and I was like, Jesus, your man's off. I had an image of him, his family outside of Galway, well, waiting for Galway to be constructed, and watching Saint Bridget fight the Felborg because of the way he mixed up the dates. He's a madman, like. He's, I don't know. The girl in Galway is obviously foreign, right? That's a funny. You see, that's the thing. I'm not a linguistic, but the thing about yeah, that's an interesting one. But Galway is built by the O'Connors. You know, I haven't come across anything that says any different about Galway being built by the O'Connors. So, in my understanding, Galway was always built by the O'Connors, unless someone was to correct me there. Like, you know, you guys, did you tell me if the link works or not? Does the link work, lads? Because I tried the link yesterday, and some of the lads they couldn't get it working. You guys had a great dream, Jim. I saw your comment there going every time you say something completely out there, Jim. I saw your comment on WoW, and I couldn't stop laughing, man. Some of your comments there, I couldn't. Anytime you'd say anything absolutely wild, I couldn't stop laughing, Jim. Do you know? God in Irish means foreign. Like, yeah, that's why you kind of tripped me there with the usage of that one. Let me have a quick look at that one because I'm pretty because you've got Gael Gael, which does mean foreign Irish, you know. But I'm not a linguistic. I have to remember that now. We're going deep into the linguistic realm, and I'm not a linguistic here, like. But from my understanding, Galway is built by the O'Connors, you know. That's the only thing I can put there, you know, because we're going deep into the realm of the linguistics here. You know, and that's the same when I talk about the Gael Gael as well. In the where do they pop up around? I'm sure if you look at the annals of Ulster between 820 and 840, that's where I first found the word Gael Gael, and it's funny because it just pops up in Munster. And then I was reading a few. It was Caveman you pointed at it or someone else, and I went reading about it and stuff, and it was talking about how we have a funny understanding and connection of it that Gael Gael could actually be connected to people who are just outside of the Tuat. It's not Norwegian, which makes sense, especially with the MacSweeneys, because as I understand, the MacSweeneys don't actually have any skin. They like, don't get me wrong, the MacSweeneys are allied to Norwegians in the Scottish-Norwegian War. That's up around. Let me pin this one down. Is it 850 or 860? 860, sorry, 1262 and to 12. But then when's Brian O'Neill's revolt? Because Brian O'Neill's revolt is after that. Brian O'Neill. Give us a second there. Because the Scottish Norwegian War is 1262 to 1266. Brian O'Neill's. Give me a second. 1260? Huh? Did I get that completely wrong? His revolt is from 1250. So it's Brian O'Neill's revolt and then the Scottish Norwegian War. I always thought it was the other way around. Now I've completely tripped that over. It's funny how I mixed that one up. Scottish Norwegian War. 1262 to 1266. And then there's the treaty then. Then what am I thinking about? Let me click on that one. Let me jump back into that comment again. Link doesn't work. Oh, right. Just give us a second there. Actually, what you could do is this is how I got it working last time. If you go into Google and you put in this one, I'm pretty sure that works. But you're right there, about the link. The boys were saying the other day that the link was acting up as well. But I think if you type in what I posted up there, help recreate a 15th century Irish ensemble, just be all fancy with your words. I would have just said clothing, 15th century clothing. But where was I? I got the link. Happy days. Well, at least some people get the link up and going. But yeah, the link can be temperamental, all right. It blows my mind when they say Ireland was savage. Sure, we wrote and read Latin and Greek. Yeah, your man earlier was a bit wild about that one. But like 1 minute he was claiming to be from Galway, and the next minute then he was claiming he was Scots. He's a pure strange troll lad. I don't block him because he's actually good crack. He's actually funny. Like that's why like there was a lad last week and he went in there pure guns blazing attacking, and I was like, right, I'm not having any of this. At least with your manner, he gets upset and he has a little crank for himself, but it's all banter. Like, you know, he never actually said anything that was completely well out there. I did have to block some people, all right, because they were. At least with your other fella, he knows he's not well. He's slightly worse than Jim, but at least he knows how to go up to the line and then go back in. There's some fellas and they just well past the line. You have to block them because they're not good for the algorithm whatsoever. Like, what's it called? I didn't get the link. How am I missing it? I found the link, but it is not clickable. Give us a second there. Brian Law predates Maggie Carter. Yeah, 100%. Like, you can see the names of several Gallo Glass. Narcissists don't like to be corrected. Yeah, I think of that as well. Your man's a bit of a narcissist. I thought he was just a pure troll, but yeah, it was funny how he was when I did correct him on the dates. He couldn't, for the life of him, he could not get any of those dates right. He's very good at grabbing the and learning the information he wants to learn, but the problem is then he can't back it with the dates. And when you're dealing with someone like myself that goes boof dates and then just builds up on it, I can trip it over very quickly. Although I tripped myself over there mixing up the what was it Scottish Norwegian War, which is 1262 to 1266, and then Brian O'Neill's Revolt, which I have to put back in again, which was Brian O'Neill's Revolt is, and I lost it again. Give us a second. Oh, sorry, no, 1258. 1258 to 1260. Okay, it's Brian O'Neill's Revolt and the Tamad Wars. And is Latin used a lot in Ireland? Yeah, and a ton of Latin was used during the 6th century. The Irish start to go wild with their Latin. But we're only starting to know now the full picture of what Ireland was like in the late antiquity with the, what was it, 4th and 5th century. Just give us a second there, Duffy, and I'll get back to you with that one. And if he had any humanity, he would have taken him a long while. Oh, aye. Why do I think of pirates when I say Max Sweeney? Max Sweeney pirates, guaranteed. The Max Sweeney's committed a lot of piracy. I say a lot of the Gallo Glass commit piracy, to be honest with you, Jim. I think that's why, what was it called? Carrickfergus was a huge thorn in their side for a lot of those Gallo Glass moving between Scotland and Ireland. Because, like, the Gulf Gael during the Viking Age were committing a lot of piracy, you know? So I could imagine the Gallo Glass later on committing piracy, like the Max Sweeney's. Max Sweeney pirates. It sounds good, like, to be honest with you. I missed the argument, but we can all disagree and still get along. That's it. I had no problems with him, to be honest with you. He was wild. He was wild. But no, I wouldn't ban him. He was funny, like. Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. The boys were very, very clever. Yeah. Right. Well, that's crazy. 1 second. I just need to fly over. It is. All right, we're popping there. And what else do I need to blast to do? Give us a second. And tripping over my own tongue. flying around there doing bits and bobs. Well, Caveman. He has a good combination spirit. Yeah, he's good crack. Like, he knows how to run tightly against the line. Does he run tightly against the line? And yeah, he's funny. Like, he's so hilarious. Like, it's as Caveman said there. He couldn't handle it, especially when I correct him with the dates. I was like, poof, and he couldn't handle it. Like, once I put those dates in there, man wasn't having it. Yeah, Jim was very good as well. Like, uh, hmm. The O'Neills, going into the Norman conquest kind of era, and then you go into, the period of King John in Ireland, and then you had Aid the Second O'Neill. Shocking how good his fleet were in that stage. I got a message there. Oh, geez, thanks very much, lads. Rachel was just thanking you guys there. Yeah, Rachel just wanted to say thanks for the lads that donated there onto the old Patreon for the clothing, because we're putting together. Do I have any of the pictures from it? Do you know what? I could actually put up the clothing. Oh no, I picked my limit. Should I just delete it? Oh wait, no, it's the Krynog we're using. King John Phil. Are you related to King John? What's the story with his lineage after he dies? Who's the child and everything? Can I do that? No. Okay, do you know what? I'll just delete this, and then so I can show you guys. I thought you would send me walking there for a minute. Just if you ever do get banned, Jim, that wasn't my fault. What was it called? The clothing we're looking to actually make this is the top part of it. This is by Ghost Hero, by the way. Yeah, Ghost Hero got me that photo. So that's the top bit of it. And you see the beard and everything I have to grow out for it. So we're looking to make that. That's the top bit of it. Since my later morning opened up, I'm going to go ahead and do my... Yeah, well... Yeah. Numbers... Give me just a second there. Good evening. How you keeping there, O'Brien? How are you doing? No, if I ever kick you out, Jim, just give us a second there. It's probably Rachel. I just set up a separate one. Okay. Right. How are we gonna do that? Are you sure? Oh, okay. I'm just saying because Rachel is setting up a. Oh, right, 2 hours from now. Okay. Cool. I don't know. No, Rachel's setting up a sewing thing in a bit. 1 second. Well, in about 2 hours. So Rachel's going to jump on in 2 hours and do her sewing stuff. I thought you would send me. No, if you ever get the boot, Jim, that's the fault of what was it called? YouTube, not me. How many different languages were spoken in Ireland in the day? Are you looking at the early medieval period with the Viking? Well, the Golden Age of Ireland to the Vikings, or the High Middle Ages with the Normans, or are you talking about the late medieval period with the old, I suppose, the English and all that kind of stuff with the clans? Bum, bum, bum. Looks like Bob Marley. Yeah, that's the outfit we're looking to put together. That's what the GoFundMe and stuff is about. Let me actually, I'll delete this one as well. Delete. And then what I'll do is, because that's the top part of it, what we want to do for the GoFundMe. And let me find the bottom half of it. Yeah, that's so. This is the top half. Doof, there we go. So it is this one, that outfit there. So that's the full body of it. And what we want to put together is the outfit for Seamus McThomas, the 8th Earl of Desmond. Seamus McThomas Fitzgerald, the 8th Earl of Desmond. We want to put together his outfit. So that's a noble of the exact same date of Seamus McThomas Fitzgerald, the 8th Earl of Desmond. So that's the top half. Sorry, that's the full body of it. And this is the top part of it. So that's what we want to put together. If you had one number of royalty in your family tree, must be loads from that link. Yeah, I say the two boys, both Kevin and Caveman, probably have a lot of royalty in their family. Me, on the other hand, my family is mostly very much linked around the Limerick area, Limerick Cork area. My potential grandmother is related to everyone. Some of our ancestors have been in New York. Jesus. I've just had a family that ran away to America on my mother's side. True propaganda, House of Wessex traces its lineage to the Norse god Odin. Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? All it takes is one link, and you got links to so much information. Yeah, that's what I need. My one gets very messy after World War One. Going into World War One, my family heritage thing is so messy. Like, I'm not the only one as well. There's other people up in Limerick as well, and it's Jesus, it's just a complete mess. And that's because of the whole poor Paddy syndrome that happens, where people are denying who they are and all that kind of stuff, and people not coming home and blah blah blah, and then people popping up left, right, and centre. But it's probably not just myself. There's probably a load of people after the First and Second World War, and their lineage is just a complete mess. Braid need to learn 50 Ogums, ground level, take Ogum as dialect in the context as well as early script. Ogum can also be taken as right. Chuck that in there so everyone can see that one in both chats. Like, all right. Do you know anything about Up the Rebels? That's actually where I'm going to go and specialize in right now, which is during the period of the Wars of the Roses. It was give me a second. Up the Rebels, and I'll get the actual rebel himself. It's meant to be my field of expertise soon, since that's the place where I'm actually going to go and specialize in. Moving away from 10th century. Well, I might stick to 10th century Ireland as well, because I want to continue researching into the Silk Road. But now I have to, since you guys are not paying me, I have to go and do research into. Well, I already had to, because I already had another project as well. That's why I'm kind of tying everything together. But field of expertise I want to get into is around 1472 with the Wars of the Roses in Ireland, which is literally the period I'm talking about now. Up the Rebels, Wars of the Roses. Christ. AI doesn't have a clue what's saying. I typed it into Google, and AI just gave me the worst answer ever. Is that the one? I don't think it's the. No, that's not either. Right, Cork. Cork and the Cork. Actually, Tudor Rebel might do it. Bam, 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 bam. Because it's the name of the. Oh, was it? Warbeck. The term rebel county is a long-standing nickname which originated from Warbeck. That's what the AI is saying anyway. Simmons, you had Simmons first, and you had Warbeck. Oh, was he also in Cork? Allegedly, according to AI. And Warbeck. Let me see. I'm trying to find something factual first. Da, 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 da. Gurk AI is a good use. I use it for learning history. The problem is with these AIs is once AI gives you something, for the love of God, first off ask it where it got its source. That's will give away the main thing. And then secondly, make sure you trace that source up because it hallucinates when it comes down to history. Hallucinates all the time. Um, but what's annoying is I know there is originally. I just want to make sure and clarify that's true that it was Warbeck. Do you know what we do? But put Warbeck into Cork. 1 second. Warbeck was in Cork and yeah, it is. He was crowned Richard the Fourth in Christchurch. He arrived in 1491 to 1492. Warbeck was supported by the men of Cork. But that's anyway, because Cork had gone rebel with Warbeck, especially when the Fitzgeralds stopped supporting Warbeck, allegedly. Cork got renamed to the Rebel County. So the Rebel County comes from the Wars of the Roses in Ireland. That's where you first see it. Because it supported every single everything against the Lancastrians and the Tudors. Cork did. So it ended up supporting Warbeck when he arrived. Right. More time. Oh, we're exactly 3 hours in. Warbeck, he landed in Cork. Cork Bay. I love the Wars of the Roses. It's one of my favourite eras for sure. Didn't Earl of Kildare invade England? Yeah, that's the one. Lemon Simmons. Lemon Simmons was the Battle of Stokefield. When was the Battle of Stokefield? That was the last battle. That was the last battle of the what was it called? There we go. We're not going to work with that, are we? (1487). So about 10 years afterwards was the Warbeck. So, hello. Do you know anything about? You missed all the lads there. The old colonies. I might do, but you'll have to pop in next week because I really want to start wrapping everything up now. And I think because I want to find out what everyone's doing in my own home, and then I want to see what the stories with Rachel and stuff as well because she wants to do a sewing thing. So I might come back on in an hour. Was it 2 or 3 hours or something? Bum, bum, bum. I think I messed with the Irish in America because Jim, you are the Irish of America because we were Catholic. Oh no, sorry, they. I forgot that word. They. I thought you said I. I thought I. Because we were Catholic and American was founded by. That's funny. Rugby country is really cozy. We are so great and awesome here in Cork. That's called a fact, Dennis. I can link my link. Okay, right. We can do all the links and stuff. Yeah, probably not next week. Yeah, we won't be back. Actually, we can't go back next week because sure, I'm in Naha next week. I'm in the mainland of Japan next week, so we cannot go live next week. Okay, so we'll finish up there. In about 2 weeks, we'll do another one. 2 weeks, maybe 2 3 weeks. I'll be back again with the boys to cover more lineages, more clans, more dynasties. But other than that, guys, thanks very much and Slán Goalia. Oh, yeah, and sign up on the Patreon. I've got the Patreon. This week, was it the 21st, 3 guys at Irish time, 9 o'clock, we have William Marshall and Isabel Declare. Also, this time tomorrow, I suppose earlier, about 9 o'clock Irish time, we'll be with Melissa Shields again, covering 16th century Irish clothing, Anglo-Irish clothing, with the Fitzgeralds, the Desmond Fitzgeralds. So that should be good. I think that's pretty much it. Oh yes, and Rachel wants to do a Christmas special on the 24th. So yeah. Oh God, you guys are going wild. You're gonna get me in trouble now. Anyway, other than that, guys.